Across the UK. On DAB+. On YouTube. On your mobile. And on your side. This is Talk.
Yeah, all right, man. Look who it is. It's not Andre tonight. It's Jonny Gould.
I won't even do an Andre impression.
Why not?
Well,
Barn cakes.
Well, barn cakes. It's all yours. It's all yours. Professional
man.
northerner.
Yeah,
no,
man.
it's two Midlanders tonight, isn't it?
It's the Brothers Gould. We've been doing it now over half a century on my dad's Reel to Reel, where I used to have a section on his show called Ashley Gossip.
That's right, and
it's
here
back-
we are. Who would have
back on
believed it?
public demand again. Yeah, man.
Yeah, it was on a network called GBC.
On a Philips Reel to Reel machine.
Yeah, fantastic reel. I learned how to do all my thingies there, and then it became obsolete.
Yeah, well, cassettes came out. But yeah, we've been brothers for or before that even. So ever since 1971 in Birmingham, and
in theory before that into the 60s.
yeah, back in the 60s when we were just sort of ovums. But
Well,
yeah,
I wasn't.
Where's your jacket, by the way?
No, I thought I'd.
Schlock.
I thought no, I'm not a schlock. I thought this would be a sort of little prestige.
I didn't put my tie on to make you feel a bit better.
It's a bit of a tribute actually to James.
Yeah, it is a
actually.
James Wales shirt.
I thought I would sort of appear in a sort of James style fashion.
We'll play a clip of James
Rest in
at
peace,
11
James.
tomorrow.
Lovely.
Again, as we do every week, in honour of the great man.
Yeah.
But tonight we've got Phil Dave in the first hour.
Watcher.
And we're going to be going through the paper. But call us now, 03444991000, 03444991000, about whatever you want, really.
And you can tweet us, right?
You can tweet us. You can WhatsApp message us on the same number, 03444991000. That's a good way if you're a bit scared to go on live, and it's better quality.
Scared like Carmel.
But we've got Phil on. Hi, Phil. Phil Dave. We just call him Dave. Like they would at school. Dave.
He's the man with two male names.
Yes, well,
So
two
how
first
are you,
names.
man?
Well, technically three first names if you include the middle name. I'm very
What
well,
is your
thank you.
middle name, Philip?
James.
Phil. It could be. It should be a bit more colloquial, sort of Phil, Jimmy, Dave.
Well, no, it's technically Philip James Dave, isn't it?
Yeah.
But I just don't care for Philip.
Just very quickly for the punters who've come to
PJ.
know you, what is the history of the name Dave? Are you always called Dave in your family, or where's it
No,
come
no, not at all. No, if it's about 2 generations ago, it was changed. Basically, my family were expelled during the pogroms in Russia in like the early 20th century, and then they fled to South Africa. And when they went to South Africa, it was. Sorry, I'm sorry.
Well, you don't bring your donuts in here.
Well, no, hang on. You told me to give that to
Donut.
them, Chuck.
It's not.
Anyway, so when they fled to South Africa, it was their surname was something like Devusnik or something like that, and the customs officers couldn't spell it.
Right.
I can't blame them because I can't spell it either.
So
by the
they
way.
basically
So they
said-
changed it to Devatsky. Because naturally,
Right.
if you're Jewish, you've got a ski at the end of your name, right?
Yeah.
And so my ancestors, when they were in South Africa, decided, oh, to heck with this, we don't want to learn the new spelling of it, so just shortened it to
Got me,
Dave.
Dave.
Didn't they just ask about? They
simple.
went, "What's a good English name?" And he went, "Oh, Dave." And so
Well,
they
it,
went,
is,
"I'll do it."
it wasn't
Yeah.
though, was it? That's the whole point. I suppose in those days, it wasn't
Yeah.
very common for people to be called Dave.
We had an uncle go in Ellis Island and they couldn't understand his name, so they called him Gaspipe Zuckerman.
Yeah, that's
Gas
right.
pipe.
Gas pipe.
Yeah.
Well, that's
His
not in the
name
least
was
bit
his name was
offensive.
actually Yecheskel.
Goodness.
And it was Newcastle, not Ellis Island.
Same
It came
sort
in
of thing,
came in via Newcastle because he
Aye.
thought it was. Oh, hey, I thought it was America. Came in via there, and they said he went Yecheskel, and they said what? Well, I put it down as gas pipe, so he became a gas pipe.
Listen, I've been told, it's just sort of been shuffled out of reach, but I was told, I brought in some donuts for the team.
Did you?
But
How lovely. Very
everyone's
nice.
eating donuts, and there's now only one left, so I didn't know who
I'm all
wants
right.
it.
I've had some
Well,
because
look,
it's Thanksgiving and we celebrate American things. I had some cake.
Right, there we go. Hang on,
My
sorry.
shirt's tight
I
enough.
don't
Thank
know.
you
I
very
don't know who
much.
wants it, but you
Right,
can just sort of
you
fight
have it,
over it.
you
Who's this an impression of? Rachel Reeves,
Ow.
outside number 11. That
A really bad one.
For those who
It'd be
listening on
good
the
if
radio, that
it
was
was
really funny.
donuts she'd done in the budget. That
Well,
would
she
be
got
all
a
right.
proper donut after yesterday, didn't she?
But that's
She
one of
is-
the
she
things.
is a donut after
25,000 more
yesterday.
people to claim welfare as 2 child cap is lifted. That's $3,500 a year, Dave.
Dave.
Phil Dave.
Yes, well,
For
it's
each
not.
kid, so they're going to be pumping them out. It's profit, just pure profit each kid.
Well, I've made it very clear that I sort of think that when someone has children, they should really be able to afford to have children. If they can't,
well, they
then
can
probably
now. We
shouldn't have
pay
them.
for it. I mean, if you have 10 kids, you'll be on like I was listening to Alex's show, and you'd be on the equivalent in London. They give you a house and everything. You'd be on the equivalent of a job of about 70, 80, even 100 grand.
I know,
So
it's absolutely
why would
shocking.
you work? And people getting up every day watching you lie in, and they're paying tax to keep you in your.
That's it. It was a benefits street
Can't go on.
budget. The other thing that was there was a big climb down around drive time today. Employment law, except from day one, you don't get full employment rights until 6 months in, because it would have been a huge deterrent to any small business to take anyone on day one if you had employment rights.
Well, why, of
So
course
if
it
you're
would.
running a
So hang on
cafe-
a sec. So you're telling someone that you don't have to earn a single penny
9
for that
o'clock AM,
business,
yeah.
and then immediately you can start claiming from that. But that's ridiculous.
So everyone's come to the consensus today that it would be a better idea at 6 months. Even that's a bit tasty.
I think
isn't
that's
it?
quite shorter
At
time
least
frame as
people
well.
will
to be
employ
honest.
you. Wouldn't employ people if you had a business with that.
You just wouldn't.
And then also with the taxes, and then you've got entrepreneurs. Why would you set up a business here?
Well, you wouldn't. But this is it.
Get
This is
hammered.
exactly what Labour does, is that they look at small businesses and they think, let's bleed them dry. And then they look at bigger businesses and say, oh, there's money there. Let's go after them. Where is the encouragement for entrepreneurship? And the answer is there's none.
But they can't, with their backbench rebellion, do anything. They can't.
And they've been forced left, and that was one of the problems when you have 411 people sitting behind you, and they are mostly leftists, sort of a version of what came from the Corbyn era. This is what you're going to get, and people did not vote for this. I want to also talk about the mansion tax.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a joke as well. I mean,
Is it over 2 million?
It's
you've got to pay?
£2 million
Property that's over
or
2
more,
million.
and it will
then
be
if it's another
2,000
threshold, if it's over 5 million.
That's right. So £2,500.
That's where I come
now,
in.
if you are, for example, a 70-year-old widow, and you bought your home in Croydon, in a nice road in Croydon near the station, when you were both 30 and happily married, and your husband passed away, you haven't got a pot to pee in, and
Yeah, but
you
it
will
won't be a nice road anymore.
Well, it probably will be.
Croydon.
The point is, look, anywhere in London, the point is that these, a 3-bedroom flat in some parts of London is £2 million, and the people in there, not all of them have money. So this is an assault, not on wealth, but it's an assault on home ownership. It's an assault on one's own value, and you try and sell a house for £2 million these days.
But
because the market is so bad.
But what's interesting though is that properties that are now or were worth 2 million, I reckon they're now going to be reduced in value because of this tax.
Absolutely, and there's another downward pressure as well, which is that Kemi Badenoch at the Tory party conference stood up and said, it's a bad tax, that stamp duty, and now I'm going to completely abolish it, which means that someone from the Reform Party, or maybe even Kemi herself as part of a coalition with Reform, should they win, will bring that in. It will paralyse the property market. I really believe that the banning or the getting rid of the banishment of the of stamp duty is the equivalent to Thatcher's council house liberation, because it means that someone in Middlesbrough can move to Newcastle, someone in Sheffield can move to Manchester, someone in Manchester can move to London, people in London can move around. Social mobility. People made decisions.
And a free market, it frees the market.
Absolutely, it's such a great idea.
But it's an appalling tax.
It's appalling
absolutely
tax.
abhorrent, because then what it does, again, it picks on the wealthy.
Yeah.
Because based on, obviously, it's a percentage of the property that's been sold. So naturally, people in London are going to suffer more.
But they say it
with
frees
stamp
up houses
duty.
for families.
Yeah, but it doesn't, does it?
Maybe they should give them some
absolutely-
benefit if they do want to sell. They should not have to pay certain taxes.
Well, here's an idea.
Encouraged to
Don't
sell.
tax someone for just trying to make their life better.
That's right. Stamp duty is so expensive. Should we go to the call?
Yeah, let's have Quim in Neath.
Quinn
has
is
flooded
from
in.
Neath.
Quim.
Hello there.
Hi, Quinn. How you doing?
All right, man.
Yeah. In the budget yesterday, they didn't mention about how much more money they got to pay for the hotels and for the immigrants who's going to claim all the benefits that's in this country. Like for argument's sake, when they say that we got to pay the highest gas and the highest electric, I think myself, once they start putting them into little houses, then obviously they get free gas, free electric, and the people will have to pay extra on their bills to pay for their comfort in life. And I think the council tax is going to go up again then to pay for the houses that they're living in.
Yeah. Quinn, do you think that this is, as usual, apart from Tony Blair, a one-term Labour government?
I think they should go. I think they should shot them.
Well, unfortunately, we have to bow to their democratic franchise, which means we've got another 3.5 years of them, haven't we? Although Farage keeps saying that he thinks there will be a fallover in about 2027.
But I was going to say, it actually depends heavily on sort of the economy, and if the country is declared bankrupt, then the government becomes untenable. If they're untenable, then there is a general election called. So potentially this could, if we carry on the rates we are, could happen as soon as 2027.
There should be, you know, like if you lie to Parliament, you have to quit, basically, as a minister if you mislead Parliament. There should be, if you don't carry out your manifesto, you should be forced to go to a general election. Do you know what I mean? That should be the rules.
I was going to say, it's a shame that if they don't lie to the actual voters, then they don't have to get out on their ear. That would be quite nice.
So, Neith, Quim, how's this going to affect you?
A lot, actually, because when they say they're going to give you a pay rise,
yeah, it means nothing.
You don't actually get a pay rise, because what they're actually doing is giving you the money in one hand, and then they push the national insurance and tax up, which you think, oh well, they're constantly seeing on every news, and every time they have they're in the House of Parliament, where we giving the people a pay rise for on, how much did we deduct out of our pay rise, and basically you're on the same rate as you were on when you were 17. The wages they've gone up, but they still deducted more out of your national insurance and tax. And when people think, oh, we're on the pay rise, well, you're not.
It's the biggest tax rise since the 70s in one go.
Do you know, Quinn, I tell you what I can't personally stand about taxes, and this is all governments are guilty of this, is hidden taxes. So taxes that people will conveniently forget about. Things like sugar tax, fuel duty. They might know about it, but they forget about it.
They've got loads of little ones now, moustache tax in the old days.
But the other one is that if you think about it, is what the heck are speed cameras? Because you can't tell me you're there for road safety. It's a revenue generator.
The electric car market's collapsed because of the charging
because pay per mile.
And they're rubbish anyway.
Yes. Yeah, terrible. But it's all of these hidden taxes. So whenever we actually pay tax on everything...
And the stealth tax of lowering, keeping the ban the same.
Yeah, but in every single tax that we pay, we're paying even more tax that's hidden. It's just it's literally, they won't be happy until they get every penny.
No.
The other thing is, like with Starmer himself, who's our so-called man, who's supposed to look after the country, I saw he can do, and I saw he likes doing, is making new laws to squeeze people in little circles, stop them from moving, stop them from saying what they want to say, and basically allow other people to come in.
Very dictatorial.
And do what they want to do.
They banned the picture of him falling over. Can we play it a bit later? He slipped over the other day. The Starmsey police banned it from people. Anyway, look, thanks, Quim. Let's go to Phil in Worthing.
Good evening, fellow Brummies. How are you?
All right, Phil. How am you, Bab?
I'm all right, mate.
Phil's a very successful Brummie who moved to Worthing.
Yeah, did you migrate south with the brain drain, Phil?
I'm that successful. I've decided to leave the country. Have you seen the immigration figures today?
Yeah, apparently net migration has crashed through the floor, but not because they've got a successful immigration and emigration policy. It's because everyone's fleeing the country because of high taxes.
From the brain drain, because we're losing the good people and bringing in the third world.
And did you see the way that they put on the BBC today as well? Sorry, did you see the way that they proudly put the headline "Net Migration" down as if to say, "Well, that will shut the right up"? No, look at the reason why. Sorry,
right,
Phil. This is another Phil who's butting in here. But this is like the whole reason why net migration is down, and they're just mad. The whole. Anyway.
What do you think, Phil?
Well, I tell you, who's going to be setting up businesses? Who's going to be, employing people?
You'd be mad to set up a business now, wouldn't you? That needed people, needed staff.
We're going to have, not so much now, but in a couple of years' time, when all the public sector requirements, the money we need for the health service, everything else, defence has gone up. We're not going to be able to afford this. We're just not going to be able to afford it.
So how does it end, Phil? Economic collapse.
I think we have to get reform in, or unfortunately they're coming in. They'll come in like the Conservatives did in '79 and rescue the country.
All right, Phil.
Now the only thing is, I want to ask about that, Phil. Yeah. We only have 4 Reform MPs, and we had a 5th one, but of course he disappeared. Rupert Lowe
he's gone independent.
Got shoved out the door. This is my little prediction. I know we're a bit early away from it. Reform might win the popular vote, but the Tories might win more seats because that's the way the first party, the post system works.
Indeed.
So when will the Conservatives and Reforms realise that and sort of come together? Will they do it on the night the election results are seen through, or do you think they'll start working together a bit beforehand when they realise that that's the only way to beat Labour and the Greens?
Politicians being politicians. I think by the time push comes to shove, by about 2028, they might have to do that, yes.
Of course,
and as you say, with the first past the post, that's the only way. I do see your point. There, Johnny, you're right.
All right, Phil, thanks for that. 03444991000 to join us. It's me and my brother. Look, the brothers Gould and Phil's here. Dave, he is heavy.
I'm a bit heavy.
Brother.
I'm a bit heavy.
Anyways,
I'm very consistent in my heaviness.
Yeah, he's consistent. Anyway, Sarah in Liverpool is going to be next, and you can join us on that number. It's Talk with the Brothers Gould.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
It's the Brothers Gould.
That's right. Your name is...
I'm Ash, that's Jonny.
That's right.
The figures, with 53,000 illegal migrants on the run after they breached their immigration bail or escaped detention. Elite report has revealed 736 foreign offenders have also absconded and gone missing after being released from prison or from detention, probably earlier and by mistake, with most meant to be facing deportation. So we're going to hell in a handcart. Rupert Lowe says the figures were obtained from a whistleblower. The Home Office refused to confirm confirm the figures are accurate. Well, that means they are, and probably on the low side, saying it does not comment on speculation. This is a national security emergency and must be treated as such, said Mr. Lowe. And Tony Smith, former Director General of Border Force, said it's quite easy for a migrant on immigration bail who was close to being deported to disappear. And basically, you can never catch them unless this happens to be a raid when the enforcement turns up. Otherwise, you just laugh at them. They can earn cash in hand and, you know...
Can I make an observation about this? Yeah, we'll go to Sarah in Liverpool in just a moment, but we have the rule of law in this country, but we don't have a will to implement it.
Yeah.
There's no kind of idea of national unity. So while we hold on to the idea of being a country which respects the rule of law, there's no one above it who wants to institute it properly, which is why we have this big problem.
Well, also, it's, there is definitely a two-tier system, and the law, you know, we've got people, activists, judges in the judiciary, and this is why you can never get rid of the jury system, which Lammy suggests, and that's another thing.
Go straight back to the Magna Carta, absolute shambles. I saw Sam Armstrong on Talk with Julia, who said, "Well, look, I'm going to leave the country if this is how it ends up."
Yeah, well, he would need to with his history, yeah. But I mean, the
what does that mean?
No, it was a joke.
Where's that come from?
He's great, bloke,
yeah,
Sam.
he's great. Yeah, it was a joke. But the jury system, you know, it's really important.
We're supposed to laugh with you.
Yeah,
we're laughing at you with that one.
It was a joke. But you know, we saw, didn't we, when they made Lucy Connolly plead guilty, and the people that pled guilty, that were encouraged to by their lawyers, ended up in chokey for 2 or 3 years. The people that didn't and held on for a court case, nearly all of them got found not guilty, and that was because of a jury system who saw through the ridiculousness of it, and you know, and we saw there the judiciary activists.
Yeah, we did.
Anyway, let's go to Sarah
in Liverpool.
Hello.
Hello, Sarah.
All right, man.
Hello. I'm just changing the subject a little bit.
Are you on hands-free?
Yeah. Do you want me to go off? Yeah.
Please.
Okay, sorry.
If you could, yeah. Or just wait till... Are you there?
I'm here.
Oh, there you go.
Right. So what was it, Sarah?
What it is, does anyone ever shop in Sainsbury's?
Yeah.
Not if I can help it.
Good food costs less when it's Sainsbury's.
Yeah, but has anyone noticed the meat products, like they buy mince or chops?
No,
tell me.
Tell us about the meat products.
Right, now what it is, I'm 68.
Happy
and
birthday.
No, I'm not. It's not my birthday now, bloody hell. About 2 years ago, I was going to Sainsbury's shopping, and I noticed the packaging was all different. Like it used to be clear, but now it's changed like a bluey colour.
And you're saying you open it up and then there's something on the meat that surprises you?
Nope.
So hang on, what you're saying is the packaging is now in blue in colour?
Yeah, it's blue in colour.
Yes.
So
what does that mean?
Right, this is what I've just found out from my daughter yesterday, is that when I asked the woman in Sainsbury's 2 years ago, so they're changing it, it's more clingy and more hygiene. Well, that's what they told me 2 years ago. So my daughter is an animal lover, and she's very particular on everything she eats. Her dad took her to Sainsbury's the other day, and she went to get some mince, and she seen this blue cover, and she went to the manager and said, "Can you tell me why this cover is blue?" And this is what the manager said: "It's halal meat."
Halal.
Oh, halal meat. So
what does that mean? It's got to be blue.
Halal meat,
A lot of meat is now halal. It just anyway in restaurants, and I mean they do that.
Yeah, but that's not what they told me. And the Sainsbury's manager said, the Sainsbury's if I was an old woman and I didn't realise what I was going for, a little old woman goes in, gets a bag of mince and goes like that. She doesn't want to eat something that she doesn't know has been killed safely and anything like that. They don't want to eat that. They should put it right on front, halal meat. But
apparently they do. My producer just said they do put clear if it's halal on the packaging.
No,
a logo. There's some sort of logo, certificate logo.
No. There isn't.
I'm not being funny. They have to.
And it's blue.
They have to.
It's not a case that they don't. They have to. If it is halal, they have to put it. They have to.
Are you saying Sarah's lying?
Yeah.
I'm saying that they need to. Then maybe Sainsbury's might be allegedly doing it wrong.
I'm sure Sainsbury's would put it on because, you know, and also, as you say, they make it blue, so...
Yeah.
Yeah, but they only told me that it was just a different package to keep it more fresh.
All right, Sarah. Well...
Sneaking all that through.
I know, yeah. Well, they probably didn't want it clear, you know, maybe they didn't have it clearly, but yeah, they do have symbols. And anyway, thanks.
Sarah, I just want to ask Sarah, what's your objection to having halal meat?
Because it's killed not right.
It's not stunned,
humanely.
is what you're saying. Yeah, not stunned.
Yeah, it's humanely. It's cruel. Right. And why should we have halal meat in our country? Well, I can go to Iceland and I can get mince now because that's the only place I get my mince from.
Have you checked with Iceland with the meat?
Yeah,
It's Church of England meat.
No,
Anglican meat.
Is it Catholic? Buddhist meat?
Sorry, can I just... Because as someone who is pescatarian, so I don't eat meat or poultry, I've always found it fascinating, the argument about how if someone doesn't want to eat something that's halal or kosher because they don't agree with the way that the animal's killed, the animal has to die in order to eat it. And so I can't get my head around why people get upset.
Okay, then.
I'm just asking because I can't get my head around it.
People think it's crueler. That's
my daughter turns around and says it's cruel eating meat. I've got one daughter who's a vegetarian. She won't eat no meat at all, and she calls us all terrible things. But I think what it is, they slit the throat. They slit the throat.
Before stunning. I mean, they do that anyway.
No.
Don't they stun them first, though?
No.
They just stun them with a gun or sort
of... It's not a funny matter. This is not funny.
I must say...
I don't think it's funny. When you cut an animal's throat, that's cruelty.
Well, it depends. They will argue that it's instant.
It can't be, can it?
It can be instant.
No, that's not instant. It can't be instant. Cutting someone's throat.
It can't be instant, can it?
But I mean, look, it's to my mind, one way or another. If you've got to kill an animal to eat it, then the animal is dying, and it just to
a bolt in the head can't be that mellow. You know
I can't get my head around the idea that just killing it one way is less cruel than the other.
I think people have been told that and they believe it, and I suppose you might think that. Anyway, thanks, Sarah. Let's go to Ian in Chesterfield. The cigarettes, wasn't there, Chesterfield?
There were, and a sofa.
And a sofa. Yeah. By the way, I heard earlier that they're shutting down the Kidderminster Carpet Museum. It's one of the only carpet museums in the world, and they're shutting it down because they only get about 6 visitors a day. So go and support the Kidderminster Carpet Museum.
Before they have the rug pulled under from their feet. Sorry.
Sue. Is it Ian? Oh no, Ian. Why did I think that was Ian? Chesterfield.
Hello.
Ian.
Hello there.
All right, man.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, have a bit more faith in reform. I think you'll find with all the lefties, Liberals, Greens, Jeremy Corbyn and all the rest of them, I think they're going to be squabbling over the left vote, and I think you'll find reform will have a majority.
Don't you think the right need to unite? Because Kemi Badenoch was very good in the question time the other day. Was that yesterday?
Yeah, replied to
She's doing very well. I think she's picking up a bit, and by the time 3 years comes, she might be doing well. So don't the right need to unite for the good of the country?
Yeah, I think so. But you know what? 80% of Tory voters will never forgive them for what they did, so they're going to go reform anyway.
She's very underrated, though. I tell you what, Ian.
Yeah,
like the Thatcher era. I mean, in the mid-70s, she was the milk snatcher. She was a female leader. They didn't like her at all. They massively underrated her, and I feel that there's a bit of that about Kemi as well.
Similar minds, they're both engineers. I mean, Margaret Thatcher was part of the Mr. Whippy team at Walls that invented the Mr. Whippy.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know anybody that's going to... I voted Tory for 40 years. I'll never forgive them for what they did, and nobody I know will. So
is that because they've caused permanent damage with the Boris way? Because that's my view. They've caused permanent damage to the country with that $1 million a year.
For me and my family, it's just because they sold us out on every damn thing they promised us to do. Every single thing, from immigration to this to that. No, come on, Nigel's the man to save this bloody country, I'll tell you.
Is it because he actually hasn't got a track record in government that he's so attractive? I mean, he's a great communicator and all that stuff. But it's like a football manager coming in age 38 because he was a good footballer. You know, he hasn't got a track record in management, so they appoint him over someone who's got more experience. The point is that Farage hasn't governed.
He doesn't have to. They're all going to be good businessmen. Look at the Labour front bench. I mean, please, really? I mean, did you actually think Farage could do any worse than that shower?
So that is really it. It's a bit like the last general election where you thought, well, we can't have the Tories and the only choice is Labour. And now this election they'll go, well, we can't have the Tories and Labour and the only choice is Reform, isn't it? So
yeah.
I'll tell you what worries me. I'll tell you what worries me, Ian.
Right. Okay.
Since they came to prominence, immigration has become the number one issue in this country. Okay.
Thank God.
And
Thank God.
okay. so Farage is talking about that more than anything else. But really, from about 1945 to about 8-9 years ago, it was always about the pound in your pocket, making money, being ambitious. There was a kind of centre-right feel to this country which did not exist within the realms of immigration. The Tories talk about money and ambition and less government. Reform talk about other issues which are not financial. There is a big difference, I think, in policy between the Tories and Reform. And Reform, it worries me about Reform, that they don't talk about the traditional issues that Labour and Tory have always talked about for the last, well, since the Second World War finished.
Well, but the last couple of weeks, Nigel's talked about nothing but industry and getting it working and lowering taxation.
But do you not think
he's talked about nothing but that? Well, he does all the right things.
Do you not think that actually Reform is a coalition of the left and right, whereas Tory is basically the good old-fashioned sort of ambitious working class Tory and the golf club Tory, the Shire Tory.
I wish they were good old fashioned.
No, but I mean that's the difference. I mean, the Reform actually.
Do you really think?
I think Reform are as left as they are right.
Really?
Do you think Reformer? You think Reformer to the left of the Tories?
I think Reform are socially right, okay, and on immigration and various other things. But I think economically, they're a bit left. Yeah, I do.
I think the fact that they're.
I want to be proved wrong on that.
5 minutes.
I want to be proved wrong on that.
The fact that they're called racist every 5 minutes means that they're quite far to the right.
Yeah, socially, I'm with you. They are a right-wing party. But I'm talking about economically. They're a coalition. They have to get working class people who are Labour voters. He said before the election, Farage, he said, look, I'm not just going after the Tories, I'm going after Labour.
But what's their policies that you say are socialist then?
Well, just if you look at some of the way their councils have gone, they haven't slashed budgets.
They mentioned also about lifting the two-child cap.
Yeah, that's true. But only for working parents, wasn't it?
Working people.
I kind of think that's what they are.
Quite to the left.
Yeah.
So.
Also, their version of Brexit is a right-wing Brexit, and not dissimilar to Jeremy Corbyn's view of nationalism and socialism.
But you think Farage, he's quite a right-wing Tory person, isn't he, economically, Farage? You know, he used to work. He used to be a trader. He's definitely off the right.
That was he's off the Thatcher.
Ian's wrapping himself up now. Have you heard?
Thatcher era, isn't he?
I'm going to sign off, but look at Yusuf, look at Nigel, successful businessman. They're far better at business.
You've had enough, have you?
I think that'd be good.
We've been cut off.
Thanks, Ian.
We've been cut off. I've had enough of this.
Ian's taking us to the break. It's 03444991000 to give us a ring about that and all the other things. It's the Brothers Gould. It's me and Johnny and Phil Dave's here. We're going to have Peter Barnes after the midnight news. I think that is, or is it? I don't know. Just stay tuned anyway. That's at 11. So join us on Talk. We'll be back in a couple of minutes.
Across the UK. On DAB+. On YouTube. On your mobile. And on your side. This is Talk.
I want to talk about this, which is that lockdowns stopped babies learning to talk. When they locked us down, there were all sorts of unintended consequences. We saw the terrible incident involving Arthur Labinjo Hughes in Birmingham. And there's a story coming out of the Telegraph that lockdown stopped babies learning to talk. There was a surge in speech issues that may be linked to reduced social interaction in the years of lockdown. COVID lockdowns have been linked to a surge in toddlers suffering from speech and other developmental issues. So experts from the University of Edinburgh looked at the impact of successive lockdowns and social distancing measures on more than 250,000 babies and toddlers, and they found that the number of children with at least one developmental issue increased by 6.5% between the spring and summer of March to August 2021, and the period in which the first coronavirus lockdown began and ended. And around 1 in 10 children in the UK have these concerns, which can include issues regarding their behaviour, emotional regulation, social skills or movement, among others. And I say we must never, ever happen again.
Well, they had face coverings, didn't they? And that stopped the facial communication. And babies at that age, up to 2, their brains soak in. They can learn 10 languages easily. And so they're not hearing all that. So it really affects their development.
Yeah. So, you know, it's curious because I was sure, I was in two minds as to whether or not to say this or not, because obviously it's not really my child's problem, but my sister's son, so my nephew, she's been worried for quite a while, and I hope she's okay with me saying this because I messaged her this evening about this article, but quite worried for quite a while now. He's about 4, coming up to 5, about his speech development and how he hasn't really been able to speak quite as well as she hoped he would. He can talk, he can communicate.
She thinks that's from the lockdown.
Well, no, she doesn't know what it was. Oh. She didn't know what it was, and I actually sent her a copy of this article today, and I could actually tell in her message alone the relief, because she's obviously sort of been going balmy over worry.
So she saw that and thought it all clicks into place now.
Well, she, I believe, having read this, has at least thought there is an interesting link between her son's ability to communicate and, say, his older brother, who's absolutely fine.
Well, call us if you know anyone like that, or you've got nieces or nephews,
and how old
grandchildren.
Is this child?
My nephew's 4.
Right.
So,
right.
But make no mistake, you know, I'm not saying that is the case with him, but it's curious that he was about the right age. He was obviously sort of growing up during lockdown.
Yes.
And yet, or like being, he was a toddler.
Well, that is at the most
lockdown.
Developmental stage.
Yeah, he was a toddler during lockdown, and of course there was issues as a result of it potentially.
And
with
what about his
learning,
friends, his 4-year-old friends?
He hasn't really spoken too much about them. I don't know. I mean, it's possible, but I don't know. I just thought it was very interesting to think that, you know, if there is something in this, because actually it has caused a great deal of concern for my family at the prospect of sort of potentially being the only one who's not quite managed to develop speech skills. But actually what this article is suggesting is that there's potentially loads of children who are that age who couldn't develop speech skills.
Well, that could be terrible, couldn't it, if there's a whole generation like that? Anyway, look, the other thing, give us a ring on that, 03444991000. You've got experience of children and behaving differently because of what you think might have happened in the lockdown. But the other thing is the jury trials. They want to scrap something that's been going here since 1215 and probably before with the Magna Carta. Justice Secretary...
Before lunchtime.
Before lunchtime, even. Justice Secretary David Lammy. Well, ridiculous for him to be Justice Secretary. He's proposing to massively restrict the ancient right of jury trial by only guaranteeing it for defendants facing rape, murder, manslaughter or other cases passing the public interest test. So those that found not guilty for challenging Keir Starmer, they probably end up in prison with your activist judiciary. An internal government briefing produced by the MOJ for all other Whitehall departments confirms plans to create a new tier of juryless courts. Basically a 2-tier system. But the MOJ said no final decision will be taken by the government. I mean, a jury is more important than just guilty or not guilty. A jury can decide this is a stupid law in this case and we're just going to throw it out. A jury can do anything, but that won't be able to happen, of course.
Well, of course, what I'm slightly more concerned about is that a man who can't tell the difference between Marie Antoinette and Marie Curie is basically put in charge. And it's actually true. He went on Celebrity Mastermind, you may recall, and that was he got modelled of the two. So a man who can't even tell the difference between those two historic figures is in charge basically of how justice is served in this country. I find it absolutely terrifying that he is allowed to decide anything.
Yes.
But of course, the other thing that we should probably worry about even more is the way that the judiciary has been absolutely infiltrated by what can only be described as really quite woke judges. And if they're going to be left solely in charge...
Well, and of course the whole system, so the police at the beginning are also like that, you know, Alison Pearson and all that, and then you've got the judiciary, so and then the prison service we saw with certain political prisoners. So the whole chain, and the only thing that breaks that chain is 12 members of the public. Then it's all within the control system.
It's within the control of the state. I have this question though: when Labour do shuffle the electoral coil and they are replaced with Reform or Conservative or some other start-up party that's yet to be formed, will they relinquish these reforms that Labour brought in? So, for example, a more democratic Reform or Tory government, I mean, they might like the Brave New World that Labour
they said they're going to bring
in repeal it.
The Great Reform Act, aren't they? They're going to bring in, apparently, I mean, haven't they said they're going to do that and take
but what they say and what they do, I'm worried that these implementations of these really terrible decisions might actually, when people get the reins of power, they might think, well, actually, it's quite good for us.
Well, the only way you need to look at that is income tax was supposed to be temporary. That's all you need to know. So if you think of it like that,
that's your lot, isn't it? Death and taxes.
We're done.
Basically, it meant that they're saying it would, because there's such a backlog in the cases, 78,000 cases. Where I don't think I heard a lawyer saying it won't actually change any of that, because that's about courts and lawyers and barristers. It's not about juries, but also, you know, there's maybe a case for a 3-year fraud trial where it's maybe, you know, no one's been violent and it's complicated and people would have to come out on a jury for 3 years, but not for actual proper, you know, dangerous, violent crimes. We've apparently got a text that's flooded in that's apparently porn. Anyway, so officials predict in the document that the caseload will grow to more than 100,000. This is the cases. Earlier this year, retired Court of Appeal Judge Sir Brian Leveson recommended that the government ends jury trial. Didn't Jack Straw also say something like that as well? So yeah, what do you think about it? We can't. It's sort of a line you can't cross. The jury system is part of our.
Well, I mean, so let's look at it maybe with a slightly more balanced view. As I think one thing we can all agree is that crime and punishment feels like it has been very broken in this country for a very long time. So actually, there is something that needs to happen to shake it up. Whether or not that is removing the idea of a jury for something that might be deemed a lesser crime, I'm not so sure that is the answer personally. What I think needs to happen is more decisive action and sort of just a speedier way of reaching a verdict for crimes that, if there is sort of, say, indisputable evidence, that no one can deny that someone has done something, then you just need to sort of quickly reach a verdict, quickly punish someone, move on to the next thing. I know that makes it sound very easy when, of course, it's a very complicated process. Maybe there's a way, without actually fully understanding law as a central sort of a subject, whether or not there is a way of maybe simplifying it. Maybe there is a way that
a smaller jury, for example,
possibly,
instead of 12 people.
Maybe, possibly smaller jury, possibly even sort of making the laws simpler so that you can actually sort of say without any doubt that someone is guilty of something and therefore that they can be done for a crime. I believe that sort of far too many things are too complicated in this country, and that's why it takes too long now, because of so much red tape.
And the punishment being the process, that happens a lot now, and the people get found innocent, like Graham Lynn. In fact, no charges. Graham Lynn, I think he got found guilty for smashing the phone, but all the main ones he wasn't, and that's happening a lot. And they're using it. You could see they know that Alison Pearson. They know it's not going to win, but they use the process as the punishment.
My experience, I was on a jury, and this was 35 years ago, and I was in a jury of 12, and 2 of us thought this man was guilty and 10 of us didn't, and we wouldn't budge, me and my mate John, and we said to the judge, can we have a majority verdict? and the judge said no, it has to be an absolute majority, it has to be 12-0. So in the end we couldn't convince the 10 others, so this bloke got away with it, and it was at that point that the judge told us that he'd committed crimes in this way before, and me and John said, told you, and that was the end of that. So it is imperfect, but nevertheless it is important.
For sure,
the jury tradition.
I wonder whether or not actually sort of that is part of the problem, is that it's this idea that some have to be absolute in their verdicts, whether or not actually.
Well, sometimes the judge says it doesn't have to be. I don't know what the
I don't know what the criteria
is.
And so I don't know what the criteria is to sort of write it off and say actually it doesn't need to be everyone in agreement.
Yeah.
But maybe it is a case of abolishing that and saying that, you know, not everyone does have to be in an agreement, and as long as you've got that majority.
In which case, the jury needs to be 11 or 13.
Absolutely.
And not have a state.
No,
but
absolutely.
that's a good point, actually.
No, absolutely. But if we did it like that, then potentially
Best of
that is
three,
a way.
or a trial.
50p piece.
No, but fair enough. If you did it like that, then there is a real possibility that that would speed things up.
Yeah. Anyway, 03444991000. We've got John, Sean, Georgina, Chris, Cindy in Pigeon, and John in Aberdeenshire. It's Talk. Give us a ring, 03444991000. It's me and Johnny and Phil Dave back after this.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Look, it's me and him, my brothers Gould.
For
Johnny,
one night only.
It's Johnny and Asher. We were Phil Dave, and Phil's actually prepared stories. He's not even pretending that the producer gives it to him and he pretends. He actually went out and found them.
Actually done some work.
So what's your first one, Phil?
Shoot.
Well, you tell. I mean, because we don't have time for all of them, so you tell me where.
The identical twin sisters celebrate turning 100. Vera Priest and Iris boys. have celebrated a 100th birthday together, giving credit to God, fitness and good living. They normally, these stories, they have a tot of whiskey before they go to bed. I don't know if these have. Yeah. They're from Sunderland, known as the Evergreen Twins. Each had a card from the King and Queen to mark the birthday.
Yeah.
It's
no,
lovely,
I just love it.
Lovely.
And what I particularly like is that one of their sons is aged 76.
Wow.
Isn't that great?
Yeah.
You know, just,
a long-living family.
So they were 24, yeah.
And then you've got his brother is 64 as well. So I love it. I think it's fantastic. So, it's nice to know, as hopefully they're in good health, but the fact that both of them
they both
managed
in good
to
health.
make it to 100, I just think is amazing. I'd actually be interested to know. I don't know the answers.
Vera's son, Norman, 76, said, my mother and aunt used to always eat fresh fruit and veg and always used to walk everywhere, and so maybe this helped. They did keep fit classes. Brother Paul added, both my mum's family and my aunt's family would regularly go camping in the Lake District, and they loved the outdoors.
Yeah, I would wonder. I think it's fantastic that they both lived to that age, and I don't know whether or not any other twins have managed it. I'm not sure. I've not heard of twins that made it.
Auntie Sybil, who lived till she was 102.
Wow.
And she recently passed away just months before her 103rd birthday. I asked her when she got to 100. I said, "What is the secret of longevity?" And she said, "It's a secret."
I just assumed she took it quite literally. You know, when sort of those of us in the religion who are mourning and we're wished long life. I just wonder if she took it a bit too seriously.
She took it seriously.
Yeah. I met a woman in hospital once. I was in A&E, and me and her were the only ones there, and she was like 98, and we were chatting about life. And I
asked her age. How rude.
I can't remember why I knew, but anyway, I said, what's the best stage what's the best stage? When does it go down here? And she went, 87. She was very definite. Yeah, right. She was very definite. Right. Anyway, TV's Empire is attack on British history. David Olusoga is up to it again. The BBC's new history of the British Empire has been accused of omitting details to be relentlessly negative. David Olusoga has written and presented a 3-part series, Empire, which charts colonial expansion from the Tudors to the First World War. Concerns have been raised that the show is another example of activist historical bias at the broadcaster. It will be.
I am so sick of the way that people make out as if colonialism was a bad thing. Because I'm sorry, but look at these countries that have actually benefited from British influence. Okay,
democracy, railways, roads, justice system,
health system,
the English language,
of these different things that they have benefited
stopping
from.
sooty, where women would jump in the fire, the caste system.
It's actually ridiculous because we don't teach that part anymore. Apparently, we just need to be ashamed of our history. Well, how about if you're really that ashamed of it, learn from it?
They never learn about the slaves that were taken from here to North Africa. Why is that not learned? That's a major part of this country's history.
That's right.
They sort of gloss over it, don't they?
But they gloss over the bits that actually sort of don't suit the narrative, really.
In the gene pool of some North African people, if they dissected their DNA, they would find some people from Cornish and Devonian backgrounds, because there was a slavery trade of the Barbary pirates who took these people several hundred years ago from the peninsula of Cornwall.
All the coastlines.
Yeah, and nicked them and sent them to North Africa. So slavery cuts both ways.
Yeah, but it was a massive trade, but they never talk about that.
No.
Professor Lawrence Goldman, the historian and former Oxford Fellow, has claimed that the series presented a relentlessly negative view of empire and that its presenter isn't interested in much beyond victimhood. By the way, interesting side story about Olusoga or whatever his name, Olusoga. He went to school with Gaza. And he said when he was bullied at school, it was Paul Gascoigne who went, hey, don't worry, mate, I'll pick you, I'll look after you, man. So,
Is that why he's...
Yeah, he wasn't
Gaza played
Jamaican.
for Jamaica, didn't he?
Holidays held.
Do it again.
Hey, man. Yeah. Holidays held. Sulky tourists drop mates to go out alone. People don't want to travel with their family and friends anymore. Is that because everyone's on their Tamagotchis?
No, honestly, it is the best way to travel because I've been very lucky this year. For one reason or another, I've actually gone away a total of 4 times, which is very unusual for me. I very rarely go away that many times.
TV money, isn't it? Yeah.
Well, quite. Yeah, absolutely. It's shocking. I get paid far too much, clearly. For one reason or another. And without 2 of the holidays, it was with others, and 2 of them were by myself. And obviously I did enjoy all of them, but I have to say there is something about just going on my own.
What's wrong with your friends, Phil?
So, and it's not that there's anything wrong with them. Well, they're friends with me for starters. So there must be something quite wrong with them. But it's not that there's anything wrong with them per se. It's more about what I didn't hear that one. Was it?
Johnny Seifert of this parish. He goes on holiday together, takes 100 photographs.
Together.
Oh yeah. And he has a book for every single day. Apparently, he reads a book every single day.
He's a bookworm. Yeah, he's a bookworm. Is Johnny?
You should go with Phil. But Phil should go with you, Johnny.
It's no offence to Johnny, but I just quite like going away by myself.
He'll be very offended.
I'm sure he will be, but time is a great healer. But the most important thing is that, as far as I'm concerned, a holiday should be just that. It should be relaxing, and I can't relax if I'm worrying about other people. So the way I look at it is going away by myself. I do my own thing at my own time, at my own pace, and it's just
very nice. And I'm going to confess something here. I'm having a little bit of a holiday.
Bangkok.
I'm having a little bit of a holiday at this moment, actually. I know I'm working.
But you're with others.
First of all, this is a pleasure. This is a busman's holiday. This is a break from my normal scheduled evening of sitting in my tracky bottoms watching the telly or listening or watching Ash with Andre.
Almost well recovered.
But the missus and the kids are away. And they've only been gone for like 14 hours, and the place is an absolute pigsty already. I am on holiday because the house is empty. They come back, God willing, on Sunday.
Did she leave you some nice meals and that?
Yeah, why don't we talk about our holiday?
Yeah, we just been in Eastbourne.
We had a lovely week away, didn't we?
They want to just chuck saying, let's talk about Eastbourne. Well, it's a lovely place, and it's you go down and switch off, look at the sea. You have chips.
Well, we were there with Mum.
I love it.
And Mum...
It's got a very low crime rate.
It does have a low crime rate.
But that's primarily because everyone's too old to realise
that. No, hang on. You see, now, it is a multi-ethnic place. It is predominantly white British, but there is still an area...
There's a lot of Normans there, isn't there?
There's a lot of foreign students there, and there's a community of people in retail who are from all corners of the world. Mum likes to stay at that lovely hotel, the Grand, which is it's such a lovely place.
Very old English sort of,
it's like walking into 1974.
It really is.
It's really nice.
You know, The Shining.
It's like walking into further back than that. It's lovely.
What I'm saying is, it was when Britain changed.
You know the end of The Shining, where Jack Nicholson's in that crowd. In the ballroom, it's like that at the Grand.
It's
a bit like Stephen
Only
King
after midnight.
Hotel. Anyway, thanks, Phil.
I've got to go now, haven't I? Yeah, the music's telling me to go.
Get out of our pub. And next it's going to be Pete Barnes. He's coming in. And,
thank you, Phil.
It was great, Dave. Nice one, Dave.
It's great to have you guys together.
Thanks, man. 0344499911000. It's all about your calls and tomorrow's papers today, or that will be today, won't it, in an hour? John, Sean, Georgina, Chris, Cindy, who's still in Pigeon, and John in Aberdeenshire. And all your voice messages, 03444991000 for voice messages on WhatsApp. Just give us a call. It's me and Johnny. Tweet us at Virtual Ash at Jonny Gould.
Yeah, that's the one.
Where's Pigeon?
It's in Michigan.
I'm not on Twitter.
It's in Michigan.
Phil Dave, look him up.
Across the UK. On DAB+. On YouTube. On your mobile. And on your side. This is Talk.
Yeah, it's Jonny Gould.
Hello, for one night only.
Yeah, it's me, Johnny. It's the Gould brothers again, back by public demand. We got Pete Barnes to go through the papers with us, and your call 03444991000. If you're listening in the morning, Mark Dolan is going to be next. Lanky Mark Dolan, yes, he'll be on in the breakfast. Go, hello, I'm Mark.
Hello, I'm Mark Dolan. I never brush my hair. I never look in the mirror.
Well done.
Is that what you think? Very interesting.
I'm too fat, and he's not fat. He's
not fat. He's very thin.
But
this Boris thing about not brushing your hair.
Yeah.
I like to brush my... As you can see, I like to brush my hair.
I've got 4 hair follicles on my head, and that's about it. So I'm clinging on.
But you're
thinking about a lot, though.
Smart young man. Smart young man, Pete.
They're thicking out.
Well, I do try, but...
so, Pete, what you want to talk about? We're going through the papers.
Yes.
What do you want to talk about? What's one of the things you wanted to talk about?
Well, we kind of have to talk about the budget again, don't we? Because the big one really is the cover of The Independent, and this is very clear, that Reeves broke manifesto promises. Number 10 today was all playing politics with the wording and all the rest of it, but yet everybody knows that they raised taxes when they said multiple times it was never going to happen.
By stealth taxes.
By stealth taxes. So this was the thing. About a month and a half ago, we all found out there was about 100 tax raises were on the table. We thought, realistically, about 20 to 30. Over nearly, I think it's 42 altogether have hit. And the problem is, it's not really just that the announcement of them, it's the fact that they won't raise anywhere near the amount of money they think because of what they call the secondary impact. So basically, people adjust their behaviour to the taxes. So they've predicted everything on this long-term basis that doesn't exist.
People won't employ people,
exactly.
also the Laffer curve situation.
The 100%, but then there's also, I can't think which...
Tell us about the Laffer curve.
Well, that means the guy, Professor Laffer, basically did some research, and he found that once you tax too much, you actually take in less because people, mitigate for it. But so what's going on, Pete? It's all going to come collapsing down.
Well, theoretically, it will do. And practically we're already seeing it. But the bigger question really for me is, when I look at this from a kind of politics point of view, is the issue of the next general election has just been laid on the table, and that is fairness. That's what the next...
And trust.
And trust. Trust is a big one. It really is. Yeah. But then, to be honest, I don't think anybody has ever trusted politicians or institutions. What I would like to see is somebody kind of come out with a policy or an idea about how we kind of regain trust.
Yes.
Because I do think it is up to both parties, the public and Parliament and the establishment, to re-establish that relationship.
That's
because it's up to both sides to kind of...
We know politicians lie, as the old maxim goes, but there are big misgivings of trust, and there are small ones, and this Labour government have properly given up on trust here.
Without a shadow of a doubt. Properly. I mean, the ease to which they get up in front of people and lie.
And tell a whopper.
But more importantly, the one is gaslighting. It is, you can see this happening, and they're telling you that it's not happening, and you're a bad person because you see it. That's just
Kemi Badenoch, you wouldn't see her as a liar, would you? You'd see her as a woman of honour. You couldn't imagine her lying like Starmer or other politicians do.
Yeah,
and she's doing well at the moment.
Yes, I have to admit, her rebuttal to the budget was one of the best things. I have to admit, it was
the best thing she did since Angela Rayner.
Yes.
She took her apart with the housing thing at the beginning.
Yeah.
She basically said to Angela Rayner, she said, "You're the fall guy for the rest of them," and indeed that turned out to be the case. Although it was self-injury, nevertheless, she was booted out.
She comes across as honest, doesn't she?
She does, and I think that's because
Badenoch.
she...
Badenoch, definitely.
Tax evader.
I think that's more on the lines that, that she kind of... She was a bit of a kind of unknown to most of the public within the last government. So, like, she wasn't really tarnished with any of the kind of the migrant stuff or anything like that. She was the industry one. But also, she's been very upfront. She will tell you as she sees it. And I think that's something that we kind of needed.
She's got that engineering background like Thatcher, that sort of clinical
I think there might be something to that, actually.
I've got to ask you a question. I mean, they're miles behind in the polls, but there's a long way to go.
Yes.
What about Kemi Badenoch? If she keeps performing like this...
Well,
how's it going?
This is the thing, really, is, theoretically we are so far away from the next general election, but in reality we're not that far away in terms of the political calendar.
Yes.
So it's really about kind of taking the moments that they've got and really establishing themselves along one track. And that is the economy. I said it just after the general. The economy. And if you look at it even now...
immigration, they've got...
Well, this is the thing. You bring up immigration, everybody tells them to sit down.
Right.
So they can't touch immigration. But the one thing, they can't touch law and order, but they can do the economy.
I agree with you here, Peter, because I think there is a country mile between reform and conservative.
100%.
Reform go on and on and on about reform. They make it the #1 immigration. They make it the issue, whereas the Tories have always been centre-right and on the economics.
Yes, because if you actually go back to a little while ago, Nigel Farage announced that he was also going to scrap the two-child benefit. He announced one simple statement: I don't need to do my sums. Economic competency, Nigel Farage and reform have never been in the same room together. And I think this is one of the reasons that they've been a little quiet on this budget. They've not been making a lot of noise because of the kind of the spending.
Let's have a look at Kemi performing marvellously in the Chamber. Let's have a look at this.
Madam Deputy Speaker, I've identified a way to save taxpayers huge amounts of money by sacking just one person, the woman sitting opposite. The ex-chief economist of the Bank of England was not mansplaining. He wasn't mansplaining when he said the uncertainty around today's budget is the single biggest reason growth has flatlined. What did the Chancellor think would happen when she went on breakfast telly to do an emergency public service announcement? I interrupt your Cheerios to bring you this frightening message about income tax. And then, unbelievably, she changed her mind 3 days later. No wonder people are in despair. She says she wants people to respect her.
Order. Conservative colleagues are drowning out the leader of the opposition speech. So just be mindful, nobody will be able to hear her at home. Leader of the opposition.
Madam Deputy Speaker, she says she wants people to respect her. Respect is earned. She apparently told Labour MPs this week, I'll show the media, I'll show the Tories, I will not let them beat me. Show us what? Making stuff up at the dispatch box, incompetence, chaos, and the highest tax burden in history. She said to them, Madam Deputy Speaker, I'll be there on Wednesday, I'll be there next year, and I'll be back the year after that. God help us. She is spineless, shameless, and completely aimless. Talk to any business. Talk to someone looking for a job. Unemployment is up every single month since Labour have been in office. They don't want to hear it, but it's true. They're shouting and complaining they cannot create jobs. It is the worst year for graduate recruitment on record. Are they proud of this? Companies like Merck and Ineos slashing investment plan.
We're back, man. But she did very well there, didn't she?
She really did. And there was a really great line that she had where she said when Rachel Reeves was complaining, everybody didn't like her because she was a woman, and she went, Kemi made it all, well, let me tell you, woman to woman, you're terrible.
I like
and I was
that.
like,
the mansplaining thing.
The mansplaining thing, because they always hide behind that kind of stuff, and it was nice to see it called out. But the one thing that I have heard is actually, for the first time, there is a little bit of unity within the Tory party.
Do you think that's because of Badenoch's leadership? It's sort of a good, strong spine at the front.
To be honest, my thing is, if she missed this open goal, she would have been deposed probably by now.
Do you think Farage is worried about what he's seeing now?
Well, my thing with Farage, everybody knows I'm not a big Reform fan, but when you look at the polling, yes, they seem to be winning, but their polling has plateaued. They've got
it stayed the same for about a few months.
So basically, they've got the outraged vote. They've got the disaffected Tories. They've got everybody who didn't like the Labour Party. Now they have to try and get the kind of the dissatisfied.
They've got to build on it.
Yes, and they've got to build, and they've got a lot of work to do institutionally and kind of externally as well. And they're being distracted by things like Nathan Gill, things and all the rest of this stuff that's going on. That is a distraction, and it doesn't play well with the kind of middle voter, which the vast majority of the country are. This is serious times, and the public wants serious people. When you're being all outraged by Kevin Hollinroke's tweet, you don't look like a serious person.
No, there's also a very skillful thing that Kemi represents. She inverts the DEI hierarchy. When she goes at Rachel Reeves and says, woman to woman. You don't need to be mansplaining to be telling the truth. And she's black as well.
So you can't play the race card against her as well.
She completely inverts
100%.
the DEI hierarchy. She's a massive asset. If she can keep performing like this.
She's got to keep performing.
That's why Braverman was good when she said multiculturalism hasn't worked, because she could say that and you couldn't accuse her of racism.
Exactly.
It was a watershed moment.
Yeah, that's the one great... It's always the one great theory, wasn't it, that when the Labour Party get in power, they were the ones to be able to reform the NHS and reform the civil service because they were their people. Unfortunately, that didn't work, but I will say that, I suppose, on the right side of things, the black ethnic minorities and all that, they can reform a lot of that stuff and change the stereotypes and move the Overton window, but she's got to keep performing now. She's got a good bit of publicity, a good bit of press, but it's got to build on that. And this is the bit where the Tories have fallen down so many times over the last couple of months, because they get a good moment and then the rug is just pulled out from under them because they're either not prepared or they let the narrative spin away from them.
They say the wrong thing, like, I might not leave the ECHR, and suddenly...
What are they going to do with Jenrick? Because Jenrick really fancied himself as leader now. He needs to calm down a bit. That includes making those videos. Is he all right?
He's been a little quiet, actually.
He needs to be at the moment, doesn't he?
Yes, unfortunately. Robert Jenrick is always what I call Nigel Farage light. You know, he's somewhat of the Pepsi to the Coca-Cola.
Ever since he lost the weight as well.
Yeah, and, he was one of those people where, again, I know what he's trying to do, but for me, he's playing the reform playbook. He's just trying to be Nigel Farage. That's not conservatism. That's not what the party or the real conservatives actually are. You know, for me, Farage is a reactionary. He's not a conservative. So... What Jenrick was doing was dancing to his tune. What the party has now rightly decided on is actually to reinvent and redefine what conservatism actually is through economics and going after things like small businesses, small and medium-sized enterprises, these kind of things with bread and butter issues that you could just get
Well, that's what she did in her last job, wasn't it?
So that's the great advantage. She has an industry background, but... The big asset they have is actually Mel Stride. His kind of economic steering behind the scenes at CCHQ is actually being very well touted. He's played a big part in a lot of this.
I do believe firmly that the economy is where the election will be won, even though immigration is a big issue. And I say that going back to when Boris beat Corbyn in 2019. I watched Rebecca Long Bailey, who was supposed to be the successor candidate to Corbyn. And she was at the driveway of a household in Manchester, and it was a couple with young children, and this couple were maybe in their mid-30s. They had 2 cars in a driveway. The house was detached, and she said, "You want a bigger NHS, don't you? It's when things fall apart, we can help you." And I'm thinking, read the room. They've got 2 cars. They've got a detached house. That is a mortgaged house. That's not a rented house. They look up, not down. If they could have private health policy, maybe they're not rich enough for that, but if they could have private health, they could. If they wanted to send their kids to a public school, they would want to. They wanted to look up these people. And I was just making a value judgment on these people on the telly. They were obviously those people. Upwardly mobile, former working class people who wanted to make their way up the ladder.
So this is a huge problem, and to bring it back to the papers, is actually the front cover of the Daily Mail, and this is the brain drain. This is the fact that the person you've just described is more likely to leave the country now.
Let's do that. The Daily Mail, the brain drain from Starmer's socialist chaos. Britain is facing a new brain drain that threatens to add to the pain of Rachel Reeves' disastrous budget. Official figures revealed an exodus of young Britons, while asylum seekers now make up nearly half of net migration. As Reeves struggles with her drive for growth, such stark changes risk putting even more strain on the public purse and dragging down the economy at further expense. What do you think about, she asked about Rayner and saying, because she might be coming back, after tax evader Rayner, no-brainer. I mean, it's only about 3 months ago. Apparently she hasn't paid it back. She asked Starmer. He sort of glossed over it. She hasn't paid back.
Well, it's interesting. He kind of glossed over it and then kind of said, I can't wait for her to be back in cabinet. I was like, you were the one that fired her from it.
What are you talking about?
It doesn't really make any sense, but he's...
Under duress, obviously.
But realistically, this is why I've always said a lot of this kind of talk of the changing of Starmer, it's a little bit kind of like palace intrigue, because it's not really going to happen, because Rayner West Streeting, Yvette Cooper and Shabnam Mahmood are probably not going to be MPs at the next general election, realistically, because of the size of their majorities and the threat of reform and actually the threat of like your party, the independent vote. You know, it's going to wipe them out anyway. Starmer has the 77th most safe seat in the Labour Party. He's still probably now the most safest seat because of the demographics.
He will definitely win.
Yeah, he will.
She's moving to Sussex, isn't she? No-brainer.
Yeah, well, she has to figure
for that reason.
Is therefore the only guy who has front bench potential who isn't elected via the House of Commons via a general election, the open goal gimme candidate to take over when Starmer loses, and I'm talking about Andy Burnham.
Oh, that guy. Yes. Well, I don't know. I don't think the electorate rather like the kind of Westminster Games. In other words, parachute him in somewhere that's nowhere near Greater Manchester, you know, all that kind of stuff. That baggage is very easy to spin against, very easy to campaign against. And also, let's be real, it's Andy Burnham. He's not exactly the Mahatma Gandhi, is he? He's not exactly this great intellectual mind that's going to bring peace and prosperity everywhere.
There's also the grooming gangs inquiry cover-up in Greater Manchester, you know, that he was also...
There's a load of baggage around grooming gangs and economic competency, because and also over COVID as well, he basically decimated small businesses up Greater Manchester way. So actually, he might come under some real criticism for a change, and I don't think he'll last 10 minutes, if I'm being honest. If he did ever get a seat as leader, he'd just be bombarded all the time. He's got so much political baggage, because the only reason he became Greater Manchester Mayor, because he read the room over Corbyn.
Yes,
you know, don't get me wrong, as a political weather vane, he's perfect, but he's cut himself short.
There is a deficit of talent on the front bench. I mean, we're not going to go back to
politics generally.
I think the Tories have more talent.
Yeah, more, but not like
I'll give you an example. I'll give you an example. I mean, I think Tom Tugendhat is real talent. I also think Nick Timothy is potentially not just a potential leader, but he could be a prime minister one day. Cometh the man with Nick Timothy.
My thing with Nick Timothy is he starts complaining about all this stuff about free speech, yet he was the one that wanted to bring in a lot of clamping down on internet access and a lot of free speech stuff. It was really great what he's saying now, but I look at when he was special chief of staff, and I look at what he did, doesn't quite line up.
Well, he's free of.
So you could argue it was Theresa May, but you know, I look at my actions.
I think he seems to be more of a conviction politician these days.
Yeah, I will say he's had somewhat of a, what do they call it, a come to Jesus moment. But I do think he has a lot of ground to cover.
Shot a brilliant video outside Villa Park.
That is very good.
Where he confronted the Islamists. I was there and I saw it too. And
he went to Aston Grammar, didn't he?
He did go to Aston Grammar. He's a man of Marston Green, which is the other end of Birmingham.
He couldn't believe we were brothers when I met him in the green room. He goes, "What, you're Jonny Gould?" I go, "Yeah." And 10 minutes later he goes, "What, you're literally Jonny Gould?" Anyway, there's another picture on Daily Mail, smiling through the sadness. The Osbornes, formerly of this parish, Sharon, there, smiling after the sadness and without their Aussie. 0344 499 1000. It's a paper review with Pete Barnes. Give us a ring, send us a WhatsApp message on that number, and we'll be back with more of the papers. Mark Dolan's coming up. You're listening in the morning. Lanky stick insect. Mark
brush
Dolan.
my hair. I need to brush my hair right now.
Yes. I do. Well.
No, he needs to brush his hair.
Yeah, he needs to brush your hair, Dolan.
Come on, Dolan.
Back in 2 minutes.
Across the UK. On DAB+. On YouTube. On your mobile. And on your side. This is Talk.
Yeah, it's me and Johnny. 03444991000. We've got Pete here. We're going through all the papers, and who are Daily Star. The thought of the day is from paranoid to paranormal. Again, that's Sharon Osbourne and a lovely daughter there. And there's Ozzy Osbourne. Looks a bit like our Auntie Jill.
A little bit.
I'm a celeb. Get me a big.
So we've got a family connection with Black Sabbath.
That's right. Yeah.
Which is that Tony Iommi with the fingers cut off in the industrial live accident was the delivery driver for our grandfather's business.
Mum used to drive him around, actually. When he couldn't drive, he learnt to drive.
He did the schlepping and Mum did the driving.
Yeah, he did the fixing. He was a typewriter. And literally, we're brothers, by the way, that's why we got the same grandpa. But he would fix the typewriter, and it was literally the job he had before Black Sabbath. And because of the metal come down and cut his fingertips off, he had to play. He was going to give up guitaring, but then he developed a new way of playing.
Learned to play.
And actually, a piece of heavy metal invented heavy metal in an ironic way.
Yeah, that's right. And that's the thing about Aston. You know, we go back in that place.
Yeah, man.
We go back in that place generations.
Yeah.
It was a place of tolerance and progress. And then in the 70s, they pulled the whole of the high street down. If you live near a high street which has Victorian upper parts to its shops, just imagine the Lichfield Road in Aston being completely levelled. It was a piece of financial destruction which Aston never recovered from. And into that vacuum is immense poverty and now Islamic extremism. And that's why the Aston Villa Maccabi game was one of the saddest moments of my sort of Brummie existence. For me to see what happened there, for them to game the authorities as they did, for them to stop Israeli fans from going to that game is an absolute shame. And it must never happen again, so that when Maccabi Tel Aviv or Hapoel Tel Aviv or Maccabi Haifa come and play in England or Scotland or even Wales, if it's possible, they should never, ever let that ban again. And by the way, when Villa played Young Boys of Bern tonight, there was a riot in the away end, by the way. They started throwing seats around, the stewards. So, you know, this is a problem of European football, and it's not particularly a problem of Maccabi. It should never ever happen again.
Especially, Starmer the next day said this is anti-Semitic, this should not be, and I thought he was going to turn it round, and he didn't.
Well, there was a commitment from all four leading parties, wasn't there, Pete?
Yes, there was.
And then, unfortunately, Maccabi said, well, we're not going to take up our ticket allocation. That's a shame.
Yeah.
Because I think if Maccabi had said, yeah, we are going to get our 200 Israeli boys there in yellow and blue. I've never bought a 50-50 scarf before, but I did buy one for that one in solidarity.
I bought those.
Well, I bought it because of the solidarity of the moment.
He's more a rugby league man because he's from the north.
What I love about rugby league is a game, when the players switch sides at half-time, the fans do as well. I've switched
most
sides.
of us are in the pub watching it anyway, so we don't really pay attention to what's on.
But when Leeds played Salford, before they were the Rhiners, they were the Loiners. Right, I swapped the terraces at Headingley between the Salford and you shook hands with them as you went round.
Yeah, there was a time.
It wasn't like Partition India,
I remember going to Central Park, which used to be the old Wigan ground, and people just used to wander around the stadium because it was a stand-up terrace.
You
know, there's no seats, so you can walk around. The idea of doing that now in a modern stadium is just laughable.
Does it not happen now?
Oh no. Well, the police and stuff wouldn't allow it because they like to control everybody.
But rugby league fans don't fight each other, do they?
No, actually, to be fair, I think out of all sports, I think they're probably the ones that are all right.
Rugby league.
This is not an insult at all. It's more monocultural, isn't it, rugby league? I don't mean that in a negative way.
It's definitely.
People are more
people always
to
say
each
it's
other.
the sport played along the M62.
Yes,
that's about it.
Yes.
Yeah, and then you've got all of Australia and New Zealand because it's much bigger there than it is over here. But I've never understood that really, because obviously football and rugby union dominate, but in Australia it's rugby league more than anything.
But it's funny because the Victorian tradition of sport is quite regional. I mean, it took London 100 years to break Lancashire and the Midlands' domination of football. Whereas, like, for example, when I was a sports editor in the Black Country, the second biggest sport behind football was not cricket. There is not a cricket team in the Black Country. There's a team in Warwickshire and there's the team in Worcestershire, but there ain't no, Staffordshire. Well, there is a bit, but they're not very good.
It's not very,
But the second biggest sport in the Black Country was Speedway.
Really?
Yeah.
You know when you never hear about Speedway?
No, well, it's gone a bit kind of...
tails on.
It just goes round and around.
Well, that's amazing.
I'm a Celeb, get me the big telly deal. Jungle star Jack Osborne has been secretly filming a paranormal... Who cares about that?
Yeah.
Daily Express... your delay is stealing precious time and choice. And let me just read that. Every unnecessary delay to the assisted dying bill is stealing precious time and choice. Terminally ill. Well, it's also because, I mean, Esther Ransom, she keeps going on and on. And there was a time when she said, I've got 6 months. You don't ever know when you've got 6 months. And people can actually survive things that they're told they weren't.
100%. So this is always there's lots.
Whaley got 5 years, didn't they? They would have.
He's a great
never
example
said he was going to get that.
See, I'm actually in favour of assisted dying, but I'm not in favour of this bill because they ripped out all the safeguards. They made it completely just a monstrosity. It's what they call a Frankenstein bill because it's all different bits all put together.
And it will get worse and worse.
Yes, but the wicked problem of it is actually that number 10 can't decide if they support it or not. Because 1 minute they're saying to all their MPs, yeah, back it, go ahead. And then literally the next night they're saying, don't back it at all.
I'll tell you why. Shall I tell you why,
over.
Pete? Thank you. Shall I tell you why, Pete? Because they haven't got a moral basis to their structure. They haven't got a... There's no morality issue. They're not governed by... They're like post-religious.
Yes, I think that's a really good point,
I have a problem with Labour because they don't say this, but they reject nationalism, they reject Christianity, they reject the kind of tent poles of English and British identity. And so that when a moral issue comes up that you sometimes need to resort to Judeo-Christian values, they haven't got it, so they don't know what to do.
I think it's also the fact they rather like structure, don't they? The left in general, and these are always free votes and conscience votes. They're not party whipped, really. So an individual MP on an issue like this, probably a backbencher with no more experience than the next one, would panic like nobody's business on an issue that would have such profound changes to the UK. But I can't help but notice we've had a budget that's changed the UK. We've got this, where we've also had a change to abortion laws, and the other one is the changes to the courts as well. About removing juries from trial. A thing that's been in place for 900 years since Magna Carta.
Yeah, Magna Carta.
It's, you want to talk about influence around the world.
Did she die for nothing, Magna Carta?
Yeah, she was a bit of a blank slate.
Call us now 03444991000. What would Magna? Did she die for nothing? Dawn says, loving the gorgeous school guys tonight in sunny warm New Zealand.
Thanks, Dawn. And it's your summer. I mean, you could be outside enjoying a barbie. But you're in watching us.
Evening all, Pete and Johnny. Reformer on average 33% day after day. That's without the many shy Reform voters. I said to Kemi via X that if she carried on performing as she has done recently, she gets rid of the wets and left-leaning MPs in the party. People like me would be happy to return to the party. That's from Tony in Sussex.
Very interesting text, Tony, because I can't imagine you even writing that, say, 6 weeks ago.
Yes.
Things are turning for Kemi.
Yeah, and it is literally because when it comes to actually unifying your reform in favour of something, they can't do it. If you look what's happening to the MAGA base, they're very good at telling you what they're against. The problem is getting them in a room to agree with each other to what to move forward, and it's exactly what I said when reform was formed.
Marty Waddington says David Olusoga only has a BA in history. I've got an A at O-level history. That's nearly the same.
Have you?
Check it out. Yeah, I did actually. Everyone was surprised. Mr. King was amazed.
That would be history then, wouldn't it?
Yeah, history. Yeah, check it out. He's not
really
qualified.
Got an A in history.
He is a sort of qualified. He's got a BA. And he should not be calling the shots on BBC history coverage. Look it up. So.
Yeah, the one advantage we have is nobody's watching the BBC anymore, so in terms of their impact.
Do you watch terrestrial? I don't watch it.
Listen, I consume a lot of the BBC, okay, and no, there's no tut-tut-tut about it.
But what do you watch on it that's any good?
Well, I'll give you an example. I mean, I don't particularly want to promote another output here, but I think their sport is still comprehensive online. Their news is nasty.
What about
we
the
know
TV,
that.
though?
The TV, I'm not massively into
about,
drama.
really.
Their news is obviously something that I'm I've come to be against. I find that, for example, the Today programme, if I do switch onto that, it is very chattering class and very, very narrow. But then, you know, for example, the music output of Radio 2, I don't particularly want to advertise it.
On the TV, the radio
it's good stuff. It's a very, very broad.
See, it's interesting.
Not the TV, though. The TV is
some of the documentaries, some of the pop and rock documentaries after midnight on BBC 4 on Saturday night. They have a bit of Fleetwood Mac on, and that's quite nice, isn't it? When you need a kip out of one hand and a whiskey in the other.
Those ones,
some of them are fine, but look, I don't. You know, it's just the news that lets them down so very badly.
Yeah, I think that it's interesting because really, when we say the BBC, we can all talk about it, but we all mean completely different things. And I think that is the big problem with the BBC: is it is a monolith of an institution. It's just so big.
It's too big.
It's too big. And these things with the BBC was always going to happen. One, because they don't understand the country. They just make programmes for themselves, and they all agree with each other.
Yes.
But it's very telling, isn't it, that it's all Robbie Gibbs' fault. Everything wrong with the BBC is Robbie
Ever
Gibbs.
since he left the Bee Gees and got involved in he should just stay. Anyway, 0344 499 1000. If you're listening in the morning, Lanky Dolan's coming up. It's the Gould brothers and Pete Barnes going through the papers on Talk. Back after this.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Yeah, it's the brothers Gould, me and Johnny and Pete Barnes. We're going through the papers. 0344 1000. Listening in the morning. Mark Dolan's going to be on, and we're going to talk now about the Daily Telegraph. And Starmer rips up Rayner's rights bill. Second manifesto breach in as many days prompts fury among Labour backbenchers. Keir Starmer has scrapped a key pledge in the workers' rights bill, championed by no-brainer Rayner. The government yesterday announced it was abandoning plans to allow employees to sue for unfair dismissal on day one of their employment. What's your views, Pete? He had to do it, didn't he? He met business leaders.
Yes.
It was ridiculous.
I mean, the businesses have been screaming about this workers' rights bill, and it's always been in the background for quite some time. And I tell you right now, this is a relief, but it's important that it's been watered down. It's not been pulled. So basically, they've just moved the probation period of it a little bit further.
6 months.
6 months. But the fact that the rising unemployment, we're going to have no growth. Businesses are closing. You've got rapid rates in, like business rates are going to increase. You're going to have council tax increases and all the rest of it. Do you know, employment is going to be very difficult to secure if you're out of work. So this was just another thing that the businesses were screaming, you've got to get rid of it. Most of the workers' rights bill isn't really that bad, but the things that are bad are very, very bad. In other words, they are strangling the business's ability to actually operate, because you're just piling on rights for workers who have been there literally, 5 minutes?
Is this just for the corporates to benefit them because they can deal with all this legislation?
This
and red
is the big
tape?
thing, yes. So always in this, when it comes to look at business, anything to do with the legislation, you have to separate it out into the small and medium and into the big boys, because those can kind of absorb it. But even those big companies are struggling because they've been kind of financed to the back teeth, and they're starting to see that a lot of the debt repayments that they've got to make are starting to add up as well. So if you look at TGI Fridays, for example, they've just sold the chain. Now they're looking to sell it again to whoever's just bought it, because of the expenses and because of how much it costs to operate.
So say that again. They've sold it once.
Sold it once, and literally, I think it's within less than a month. It went through, and the people who bought it, and now they're selling it on again.
And they'll sell it at a loss, of course.
Yes,
it's like a fire sale.
Yeah, pretty much. Because they did everything in their power to kind of keep it going, because it's a major chain, it's a major employment sector, which is hospitality, and that is being decimated.
It might be better if they rebrand it.
Yeah. Thank God it's not closed.
The whole thing about, when you have these massive chains, what they used to do, and we're not really in a recession at the moment, is they used to set up the coffee shops in a dip deliberately when people were looking for work, and that the cost of sales in setting up a business was lower. And then when the boom came round, they would be on the upward curve. That was the idea, that a chain would roll out in a recession. Yeah. That's a little bit of macro wisdom, and I'm not sure if that's being done anymore. Right?
No, it's definitely not. But to bring it into the kind of, if you want to play party politics with it, if I was a sensible political party, I'd be going right after this kind of stuff, because 66% of Wales, for example, are operators or work for small and medium-sized businesses. That is a huge voting bloc that is having its job kind of put on edge. And I think if a party was smart, they'd start to shore up that kind of stuff, considering the fact that I think Wales is going to be one of the key battlegrounds for the Senate elections next year, obviously, for whether Reform will, how well they're performing. Is a make or break for the Tories, considering they've got no representation in the Senate at all at the minute. And I do think it is a key area. This is where parties have to be much more strategic when they're going to go and try and gain a majority, because so many of the constituencies, I suspect, the next general are going to be marginals, so anybody's game. And these kind of policies can attract major voter share blocks.
Major changes. Let me ask you, where applied in Wales? Are they doing as well as the Greens are in England?
Well,
what's going on with that?
It's interesting, really, with Plaid, because obviously they sit on the more progressive left, which I always think is
hard left.
Yeah, they're basically hard left, but they are being seen as a real alternative, because people don't like the establishment. There is no matter which establishment it is, people are rather sick of it. But that is because of economic mismanagement and all the rest of it. But it is interesting how Plaid have really been able to target very well. And I said at the council elections what we had earlier this year, that actually the Greens were on track to do very well, because they did the same thing. At the general, they targeted, and they were very resourceful. They used the resources as well. And I think the Plaid can potentially make big gains, I think.
Anyway, look, we got to take a little breaky, but we're coming back with about electric car drivers face yearly mileage checks. Putin says we'll fight until the last Ukrainian dies. A nuclear plant in Hinkley will add $1 billion to energy bills. Imagine you get the bill and it's over £1 billion. You're going to have a heart attack. It's Talk. It's me and Johnny and Pete Barnes going through the papers. Mark Dolan is on next if you're listening in the morning. Back in a jiffy.
across the UK. On DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Yeah, it's Ash and Jonny Gould with Pete Buzz reviewing the papers. But breaking news, if you're listening in the night time, the Afghan man accused of shooting 2 members of the US military in downtown Washington, D.C. once worked alongside the CIA in Afghanistan, officials have said. Ramanullah Lakanwal drove thousands of miles from the West Coast to launch an ambush-style attack on 2 West Virginia members of the National Guard on Wednesday afternoon, authorities said. The breaking news is one of them
One of the National Guard has died, yes.
He shot Sarah Beckstrom, 20, who has died ever since.
She's succumbed to her injuries.
Andrew Wolf, 24, at close range, just a few blocks from the White House. Officials said they both remain in a critical condition. Mr. Lankanwal came to the US. Yeah, she's died. To the US in 2021 under the program. This is a bit out of date. This is that offered special immigration protections to Afghans in the wake of America's withdrawal to Afghanistan. At a press conference on Thursday, FBI Director Kash Patel confirmed Mr. Lakanwal's connection to US forces, saying the suspect had a relationship in Afghanistan with partner forces before moving to the US. And a lot of them did join because it was just a good thing to join, you know.
Yes.
I mean... Yeah, moving forward, apparently Trump is going to now check all migrants for their backgrounds.
Yeah, so we've got to see. He made these comments even, I think it was at lunchtime here today, that actually, or it was yesterday, but actually there was going to be an additional security checks and additional kind of background checks on pretty much everybody that was stepped into the United States. And what's interesting, actually, is just the other day, Shabana Mahmood withdrew a lot of the protections
and
a
it's
lot
live
of the
on TV if you're watching it as Trump live.
From the Afghan program that we have here. She blocked a lot of that. And after, we've also had that whole Afghan leaks thing and everybody that's already here. This is a huge problem because they just basically let everybody in, and it was the same in America on these kind of programs where you just kind of said, well, I once gave you directions, all right, on the plane, country across, and they didn't know anything. And then, like here. Yeah. But at least in America they were a bit more stringent, but not by far. This is yet another example of kind of the system kind of freezing when it needed to grip more, and there's a huge paralysis point, particularly here, because, well, we don't really have paralysis because there's nobody doing anything about it, but it's in America.
Of course, guns are widely available in the States. Yeah. Very easy to get an automatic weapon.
Yeah, that's also true, but also it's quite interesting, the gun laws in America, because everyone thinks, it's just they're everywhere. It's actually the places where they've got the strictest gun laws tend to be the easiest place to get one because of the development of the black market.
You go down those marketplaces and buy them without even underage. Yeah, the gun shows.
Yeah, but to be honest, I always just make the comparison to how easy it is to get a machete in the UK. Like, it's easy to walk down London Bridge, how many machetes do you see? It's ridiculous.
Yeah,
but
it's true. And they try and blame Amazon, we're going to ban this, and unbelievable.
Yeah, but no, this is quite interesting because obviously it's right near the White House. It's a major security area. This is a huge, fundamental kind of failure of the security kind of service and the kind of apparatus of the state to protect people. And also, if the National Guard can't keep people safe, or can't keep themselves safe, how are they going to keep everybody else safe if something major does happen?
And even more terrifying here with people on the watch list, 40,000.
Yes, I'm going to say the watch list. I mean, let's be funny. How many times do you
coming in every few days?
Yeah, go on. Sorry.
This does open the question about how open our societies can be across the West. We live in remarkable and welcoming open societies, but they are being gamed every single day now. What do we do about
liberalism? Is a luxury. I think
freedom?
Douglas Murray said it's a luxury we can't afford to have anymore.
It's also a luxury people don't understand, that you have to keep fighting for it. Ronald Reagan said freedom is only one generation away from being disappeared. You have to fight for it.
You can't tolerate intolerance, and that's where they've gone wrong.
And that's Karl Popper's the tolerant society problem is the tolerant becomes so intolerant of the intolerant, then everybody ends up in chaos. But the thing is, what you actually need is to defend your liberal values. In other words, you can say whatever you like, but then you make very clear what is acceptable and isn't. The problem is we have such what I've been calling the tyranny of the vague. In other words, we use certain language where everybody says one word, but you all mean different things. It's why the ECHR is absolute chaos. So the right to family life, everybody says it, but all three of us have a completely different idea.
Well, they're woolly laws, aren't they? That's what Steve and Steve
Barrister.
Yeah, he goes. I mean, he's right. The law has to be black and white, and so it can't just be.
He's a great one to talk
can
about.
Just decide what's hate crime and what isn't, because the hate crimes don't change. But what you know, if you said a man was a woman 20 years ago, nothing would happen, and then 20 years later you get put in prison. It's the same law. The law hasn't changed, but it's the interpretation of the judge.
100%. That's the major problem with the judiciary.
Johnny, and this is from Andrew in Salisbury. Johnny's too sensible and all-round good guy to cover for the ginger whinger. Ash is perfect as he's rough and ready, but Johnny is refined and articulate. Andrew.
Thank you so much, Andrew.
Yvonne in Solihull says, Ash and Johnny, don't be too nostalgic. I remember being on the 64 bus from Erdington all along the Lichfield Road and seeing those tall three-storey slum houses. All these folks rehoused in Castle Bromwich estate. They were awfully dilapidated. My folks go back to Aston for 2, if not 3 centuries. The Pointons to 1561 in St Martin's. Also, an uncle, Aston Grammar, evacuate to Ashby de la Zouche in World War II.
Yvonne in Solihull. It sounds like Mum, that Yvonne in Solihull, doesn't it? But
it does.
But okay, you go back further in Aston than our family, who arrived there in the early 20th century. And yes, you're right. By the bridge at Aston Station, those houses were 3-storey, and they went back further back. They went back to Georgian times. However, they were places of great economic advancement in the 20th century. There were roads leading off them. They were hives of community as well. And I know it was poor, but it was also humble, and in its way it was successful. We have another member of our family on the other side called Frank Gould. Right?
Yeah,
and I
we go back to Aston to the 1870s. Aston Street, our great-grandpa Jacob Gould lived on Aston Street, where the university is now.
And there was a distant cousin called Dr. Frank Gould, who was like a neighbourhood doctor, and I thought I'd look him up. Frank Gould, Aston, and he had a lovely reputation.
I didn't know about Uncle Frank.
Gould, he had a reputation, which was as a good family doctor. It was on those kind of chat sites that you get in all parts of the world.
Did he have a radio show?
No,
it was all tin cans and string back then,
but he knew how to work a stethoscope.
But our family goes back to Birmingham to about 1830s with Ezekiel Solomon, our great-great-great-grandfather, behind Bristol Street Motors in the 1830s. And they came from Whitechapel, related to Alfie Solomon from... Alfie Solomon, Peaky Blinders is our relative, so you better watch it. We got a little break here, John. He's another Villa fan, by the way, John is. No, we haven't. But let's talk about this story. Electric car drivers face yearly mileage checks. Electric car drivers will be forced... This is in the Telegraph, by the way. It was the Queen's paper. Electric car drivers will be forced to visit garages for an annual mileage checks under Rachel Reeve's paper mile. They don't like it now, do they? They smug electric car drivers, aren't they?
I will say this is one of my favourite bits of the budget was actually the smile that we wiped off the smirks of so many off the faces of these electric car drivers who were like, aren't I so environmentally conscious? But you're not laughing now, are you?
Anyway, they're not. They make slave kids go down in mines. They're virtue signalling narcissists.
It's all of it is
gibberish, and it's not ready to technology, because when the technology means you drive into a station and it takes the battery out, puts it in, and you're filled within 30 seconds. You just change the battery rather than plugging in. How backward to actually plug it into the socket.
But it will get better.
Yes, well, that's what I'm saying. But it's not ready until they can just literally drive in, change the battery, and you're gone within a minute.
But the big problem the big problem they have in terms of the kind of revenue issue is nobody's paying for petrol anymore because everyone's got electric cars. So therefore, you're not getting as much money.
We knew that was going to happen. It was inevitable.
I have to admit, I was very surprised that fuel duty didn't move. Like in terms of they kept the freeze. That was one that I thought they might have shifted a little bit. But
why didn't they? Why do you think?
Well, realistically, it's the one bit of the kind of the economy you see every day if you're a driver, because you physically see the numbers change, and you feel that a lot more often than you probably go shopping.
And it affects everything. Inflation.
It's one of the first things you were taught is kind of when you put policies together is you don't mess with fuel duty because people see it and they feel it much more than any other increase in tax. Because when it's PAYE for something, it's money that's already taken out of your paycheck. You don't feel like it's being taken off you. But the increase in food inflation and petrol prices is you feel it, and that's one of the reasons that unfortunately things like the fuel duty freeze are always going to be in place, because it's political suicide to get rid of it. But this government is just doing whatever it wants, so I thought normal rules don't apply anymore. Like telling the truth.
Staff paid 160 grand to quit can return to NHS jobs. NHS managers will be able to return to the health service for 6 months after being paid up to 160 grand to quit. 18,000 office-based jobs are set to be scrapped. Office-based at the NHS. The budget confirmed that the mass redundancy was set to cost £860 million. That's nearly £1 billion.
Yeah.
Thousands of staff expressed interest in voluntary redundancy. They will be offered them. By the way, we're saving £5 billion here, and we pay £100 billion pounds in just the interest every year.
100%.
And most we borrowing money to pay the credit card.
Yep. We're literally stealing off Peter, Paul, and the rest of his friends to pay for the NHS. And interestingly, I think it's by the end of 2030, the amount of money we will spend on the NHS is equivalent to the GDP of Portugal.
Wow. A friend of mine is a surgeon, and during the doctors' strike, he was a relief surgeon for all the what they call junior doctors.
3-4 grand a day, wasn't it?
He got paid overnight, gross, £3,700. His missus said, "I don't want you doing overnight shifts," and he said £3,700 a night. He even felt guilty about earning that kind of money. And it was like 8 till 8. It wasn't an easy shift, but my goodness me, there's a way of compensating. He got home for the school run, a bit knackered.
£500 an hour.
Yeah. So, and when he got to work, and he was obviously the most senior guy, he was in his 50s, and the junior said, "Why don't you take a rest, and go and lie down for a bit?" He said, "Well, hang on, I'm here to work.
Yeah.
I'm here to do my thing." And he did like a run of 4 shifts.
Yeah.
You
It's
know,
crazy,
where he
isn't it?
paid, 15, 16 grand a week, like being a championship footballer.
Well, it's always funny, isn't it? They always scream about working conditions, but then when you offer them more money, the strike suddenly ends. I always find that hilarious. Even if you go all the way back to, I think it was 2011, when it was the first major doctors' strike, they said, "Oh, it's about all these long hours," and then they just upped the pay, and they went, "Oh, well, we don't mind anymore." Yeah. It was like, just be honest that it's about pay.
And they gave him a massive rise not long ago without any conditions.
Yeah, that is the big problem.
How did that happen?
Well, basically, because the government is
running
stupid.
the country properly.
Yeah. But what they don't realise
that's an obvious thing to do.
Even with getting the pay rise actually cost them more money, because all you did was you increased the amount of money being printed, which then increased inflation, which sent everything up in price, and therefore the pound didn't go as far as they get. So even the pay rise actually saw them lose money.
But they even said they're going to ask for another pay rise after they got that pay rise.
Yeah, because once you feed a stray dog, it will always come back to you. That's everybody knows you don't feed strays, otherwise they keep coming back for more and more and more, and that is exactly what this government did.
We'll test that with some stray dogs on next week. Gather some stray dogs for us. But yeah, like you say, your mate is in 50, they've got different attitudes, and it's gradually got worse. You won't get doctors on strike 30, 40 years ago. Just wouldn't
not
happen.
at all. No.
Putin, we said this earlier, will fight until the last Ukrainian dies. Russia is ready to fight until the last Ukrainian dies. Putin said yesterday the Russian president insisted that Ukraine must surrender territory, claiming his army is practically impossible to hold back. Some people demand to keep on fighting until the last Ukrainian dies. So it doesn't look good for peace.
No. Well, to be honest, the peace plan that was put forward, that Putin agreed to, was ridiculous. The one that Ukrainians put forward was also never going to happen. And the one that European wants, well, nobody's paying attention to Europe. So this whole thing will always come down to the fact that you need a reasonable way to get rid of Putin, and Zelensky and the Ukrainians need to have a security guarantee. So basically, they need to make sure that this doesn't happen again. And unfortunately, I don't see a practical way of that moving forward on this issue at all.
Quick question, why doesn't Zelensky do something rather injurious to Russian pride, like blow up the Disney World building in the Kremlin, for example?
Because, unfortunately, Russia have a lot bigger missiles than they do.
Well, they blew up the nuclear fleet, didn't they?
But essentially,
they would just escalate the war to a
Yeah, but they would if they could. As you remember, I mean, they blew up those nuclear planes that they can't remake because they've not got the technology that they have in the Soviet era.
It doesn't really help as well when it's what I've been called the piecemeal problem. In other words, Europe and the rest of the world keeps giving Ukraine just a little bit and a little bit and a little bit. It's only been able to work within those conditions.
It just feeds the war.
It feeds it. But also, instead of just saying, here's everything that you need, go win, but they're doing it drip by drip. So it's prolonging this. It's the exact same problem what we had with Israel and Gaza. Was the reason that conflict is for best of it is kind of chilled now. I don't say stopped, but chilled down, was because of the same thing. Was because for a long time we never really said you need to win or you need to lose. Like we this kind of drip feeding of support. Again, it's just because most of the West is paralysed with fear over foreign policy after Iraq and Afghanistan. It's what I call the spectre of the Middle East. We can't shake it off, despite the fact that we did a hell of a lot of good, but there we are.
Young people flee.
Israel needs to win that war.
True, agreed.
They can't. They've got no option to lose. The Telegraph, last one on this one. Young people flee Labour's high tax Britain. Young workers are fleeing Labour's high tax Britain, with under 35s leading a near record exodus. A net 110,000 British people aged 16 to 34 emigrated in the year from March, according to the ONS. The figures will fuel claims that Rachel Reeves' record tax rise have made Britain unattractive. Well, of course it would. If you a kid now, you've got no chance of buying a house, you see what your parents got, and you go, well, there's no future from it.
Yeah, one of the bigger problems is not just them leaving the country, but and I know people outside of London aren't going to like this, but if people are leaving London, London is the engine of the country. A lot of money is made here, and a lot of services and all that kind of stuff. The people that would go to fill in the big corporate jobs aren't staying here. They're going working abroad. Or the more important, they're leaving London. So London's actual brain drain is at the bottom it's ever been, and it's because of high tax, lack of opportunity, and the fact that if you just want to get on in life, they've just made it impossible.
You'd leave the country. You wouldn't leave London. You've got to get out of the country.
And some of the most wealthy people, for example, the co-owner of Aston Villa, Nassef Sawiris, made an early beeline across Europe to the number one. It's not a capital city, it's the second city of Italy, Milan.
Yes, there's a huge
Milan, because of Giorgia Meloni, she's making a fortune there. Even Athens.
Yeah, I think they have a scheme, don't they? They have a scheme in Italy, yeah.
And it did exist in Lisbon as well, but now they've concentrated away from the 50-something and 60-something super wealthy and concentrated on the people who are driving the AI.
It's exactly the group that you mentioned, the upwardly mobile. In other words, the people that want to kind of get married, have a family, start
a fantastic place if you're in your early 20s to go and live in Milan.
Yeah, but it also it also has, which we don't have, is relative political stability. We just seem to be all over the place. Yes. There does seem to be a key.
Who'd have believed that?
Well, that's the thing. If you'd have gone back to when Meloni first came into power, she was like, the second coming of Hitler. Now every politician wants a photograph with her. Yeah. The turnaround of the narrative over Meloni, because she's shown that if you just stick to things, they tend to work. If you are, but the problem is we have over here is like, we use the minority as the majority case, so it never works. It just doesn't.
Believe she'd be one of the great post-war leaders of the 21st century.
Well, so
far,
considering everybody used to say
a quarter of the way through.
She was a supporter of Mussolini and all this kind of stuff, but that narrative stuff is also straining away because people want results. She was very good when she first came into power at picking 3 or 4 things, sticking to it, and fixing something.
And she's got the results, hasn't she?
And she's got the results.
Anyway, look, if you're listening in the morning, Mark Dolan is coming up next, so stay tuned on Talk. That's in the morning. Dolan is next. Lanky Dolan next. Anyway, we've just got a minute left just to fill, Thanks for coming in, Pete.
It's been great to have you.
Yeah, I can say I'm with you tomorrow.
Pete's with me tomorrow, man. It's the brothers Ash and Pete tomorrow, so tune in for that. And from 11, there'll be a James Whale clip again. Julie from Leeds wants to know why Johnny talks posh and Ash talks crummy. I think it's the other way around. Ash, waggle your glasses on TV like Eric Morecambe. If Davis forced you to be... Anyway, all right. We're taking all your calls now. 0344 499 1000. Leave us a WhatsApp message if you're scared. Martin says, Ash is your brother Harry Hill. That's Harry in London.
That's right. Yes.
Reference TGI Fridays. Pete has put me in a huff. He has once again used the word decimated in a preposterous manner. He's a pedant. Anyway, keep tuned to Talk. Thanks, Pete. I'll see you tomorrow at 10 sharp. And me and Johnny just taking your calls in a couple of minutes.
Across the UK. On DAB+. On YouTube. On your mobile. And on your side. This is Talk.
Yeah, it's Jonny Gould and Ash and Gould, the brothers Gould, and 03444991000, backed by, well, no demand, just the,
backed by
the boss told us to just come and do it.
By the demand of one person.
Yeah.
Can you cover
Lauren.
for Andre?
Yeah.
Yes. So
Yeah,
let's say that's popular.
Yeah, well, it is, you know. She's
one woman, one vote,
she's
as
the
long as
manager.
it's Lauren's.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, so join us here. We've got loads of calls, but, you know, we'll take yours too. And let's start with Georgina in London, who's going to talk about Trump.
Good evening, the brothers Gould.
Good evening. Morning.
Good morning, Georgina.
I'm really worried because this problem that Trump's got at the moment with this gunman, this migrant who has gone mad and killed one young girl.
Yes.
And I think shot another
Yeah.
two or whatever. I mean, we've done exactly the same thing here in Britain. I think about 70,000 migrants has come over who've said that they helped our boys in Afghanistan. I'm really sorry. I don't think that 70,000 have helped. It was probably a few thousand, but definitely...
A lot got added to the list, didn't they?
I think, do you know what, Ash? I hate to have to say it, my love, but I think you're absolutely right. I think that a lot of hangers-on have seen this as an opportunity to get a better life, and they probably heard about everything that the illegal migrants are getting and thought, well, you know what, if we can get a free house and money given to us...
And bring in 20 relatives as well, not just your close relatives. You can bring in loads and loads of relatives.
Absolutely, Ash. You know, so they're in the gravy boat, as with all the others. Now, what worries me, we've already seen some horrific attacks on our women, our girls, and men as well. Horrendous attacks on men. I mean, Lee Rigby was one of them. The little girls at the dancing school, another, and numerous more. I mean, and we don't know who is walking our streets. I mean, I know with my little boy, well, I say little boy, he's 17 now. I've got older children in their 40s. But little Hart is 17, and he says to, I mean, he has autism, and he says to me, you know, Mum, can I go to the shop? Can I do? And I'm terrified to let him out of the house because, well, you know.
Well, they're undocumented. I mean, we wouldn't allow, you know, other people in this country to be near schools without getting certain checks done. Yet, if you come over on a boat, chuck your passport away, you're all welcome. We'll pay for you to come in. Doesn't matter what you've done in the past. You're welcome. You can hang out outside the schools.
Absolutely, Ash. But the thing is, I feel, and I don't know if I'm alone on this, but I actually feel like the population of Britain has been put up for sacrificial lambs because we don't know what's around the corner, you know.
I tell you what, Georgina, the issue of social trust has really disappeared, and we lived particularly in certain communities, in a really high trust environment.
Yeah.
Well, you could leave your door open, Johnny.
Yeah,
that's long
and
gone.
people
You know,
knew each other. There was a kind of...
I'm a lot older. I'm a lot older than you, Johnny, and I'm certainly, I mean, Ash is young enough to be my son. And I look at how things used to be, where, like you just said, you know, I could leave my door open and people would just walk in, the neighbours and what have you, and have a cup of tea. You couldn't do that now, for goodness sake. I mean, look at the woman, I mean, she was in central London, and some migrant just walked into a house, and because the daughter tried to get this chap out.
Yes. She got arrested, I remember that story.
Absolutely, Ash. So
the charges were dropped, though, ridiculous, and he
should never have happened.
He was a very,
What are you supposed to do? Invite these people in and say, oh, help yourself to whatever you want, including my daughter, and would you like a cup of tea while I'm waiting? What are you
Well, that's what the
supposed
government
to
are
do?
saying, aren't they, really?
Well, you have...
We'll pay for you, we'll put you up as well.
Yes, exactly. Oh, by the way, there's a bed upstairs. You can go make yourself...
Why do you think they're, you know, there's a lot of people saying there's these, you know, conspiracy theories why they're letting all these military men in, putting them in military...
And what is the theory?
Well, people are saying, oh, they're trying to, you know, set them against us, you know, they're building up... nefarious reasons.
Yeah, well, I've looked upon this for a long time now.
Divide and rule. You see, if they get people at the if they're scared of the population, getting a bit revolutionary, they get other population, they're fighting each other, and it's divide and rule, and the government can come in from above. I mean, I don't know.
Well,
it's happening all over the world, though. That's the thing. It was happening in New York. They were being put up in 4 and 5-star hotels. In Germany, in all around the world, this was happening. It was basically coming from Davos.
Yeah, well,
UN
can do what they want. We are not part of the EU. I don't care what goes on in Davos. I would happily pay for a ticket on a slow boat for Keir Starmer to go over and stay there. But what I'm saying is, we can't have this happening in Britain. It has got to stop. We have got to be safe. Now, I've looked upon these economic migrants coming over on boats because that's what they are. As a Trojan horse. There's not many women and children on these boats, despite what you see these idiots saying on Question Time.
Surgeons, doctors and barbers.
Well, you know what? Seriously, it's just absolute rubbish. These are not...
Of course it is. Surgeons and doctors wouldn't come in on a rubber dinghy. They'd fly in business class and be given the job before they got here.
Absolutely.
Ridiculous.
So that's top.
And we've got enough barbers. There's about 8 down my high street.
Well, that's wonderful if you want your hair cut.
Or American
You never
candy.
use them, Ash.
Yeah, I don't know. So much choice, I don't know where to go. I get
bamboozled.
Bamboozled.
Yeah.
Leave your hair alone, Ash. That's your strength. That's your strength. Your Samson. Now, but like I was saying, I've looked upon these migrants as a Trojan horse. They're fighting age, sexually active men, and they're being let in left, right, and centre. The government have lost control of this. They don't know whether it's New York or a new day, and they don't know what they're doing. They have no plan. The only plan they have is for the working people to keep these people, and it's not on. We have had enough. We don't want this anymore, and we've got to do something about it and do it quickly. But you've got to have political will to do anything about this, and the government at the moment have not got the political will to sort this out.
I agree with your anger there, Georgina, and millions of people across Britain do. Georgina, how do normal people go about this? How do they effect change? It can't just be through the ballot box, can it?
Well,
how else can you do it?
I don't know whether you've actually seen. We've tried protests. Keir Starmer gets off and goes somewhere else, so he doesn't even have to.
Or he takes us to court and says their rights are above our rights. That's what they did. The Home Office.
I mean, how disgusting is that? When an illegal migrant who comes over on a boat, and it's like throwing salt in a wound, because when they're fighting these cases in court, these migrants, we're having to pay the bill out.
We're paying the bill.
That's not throwing salt into a wound. I don't know.
It's like they're trying to wind us up. They're trying to make, us angry.
Well, I think where that's concerned, I think they are trying to wind us up to such a point that we're going to be like the revolution in France, and then they will lock us all down and make digital ID mandatory. This is a way for them to say, well, it's dangerous now, and there's been riots and goodness knows what. For your own safety, we will instigate digital ID, and it's mandatory for everyone in the country.
And that's going on all over the world mysteriously, and it's basically a Trojan horse to get us all to put our digital data in, and a world AI will control the world's data. And it's Tony Blair's mate who runs the technology, the multi-billionaire. He's one of the richest men in the world, and they're actually using Gaza as a sort of guinea pig. They're going to give all the digital IDs. That's why Tony Blair's going to become king of Gaza. Anyway, thanks, Georgina. Let's go and have a chat to Grace in London.
Hi.
Morning, Grace. Morning, Grace.
I still don't feel like it's morning when it's just started midnight, but
nevertheless,
it's morning somewhere. I was interested by the comment that Labour is lacking values, particularly Christian values, and I kind of agree, but I'm not quite certain what exactly was meant by that.
I'll tell you. Let me tell you what I mean by that. On the political left, there is a sort of post-Christian consensus where religion doesn't play a part. So when there are issues about, I don't know, the Liverpool care pathway and bringing life to an end, they don't resort to perhaps Christian values in the way that perhaps the right would, and so they become paralysed in this. And now they have a huge majority. They took the whip away for the for that right to die debate, but most of the people in there don't have that religious value as part of their background because there's a big Labour majority. It's kind of what I think about why they're so paralysed about moral issues.
I think each political party is endlessly varied.
Sure, well, that's true too.
I mean, Labour is, to some extent, tearing itself apart because a lot of them disagree with each other about all kinds of things. If we talk about the left, I'm increasingly unsure of how to define that because it can encompass so many completely different issues. I really believe strongly that wealth should be more equally distributed than it currently is. So I would consider myself generally to be on the left, but I'm also generally against abortion. And I have what would be considered a relatively conservative view on lots of
So you're
issues
socially right, but economically left?
I suppose, yeah. And I think that there definitely are people within the Labour Party who are Christians. I have voted Labour, but I'm not going to continue voting Labour, I don't suppose. And I quit the Labour Party when they put buffer zones around abortion clinics. But I think that fundamentally, the most important thing about Christianity is not really a political thing. It's to choose to turn to Jesus. And sometimes we can get a bit too bogged down in some of these other issues, which isn't to say that they aren't important, but some people seem to think that Christianity just means having conservative views on some of these topics, whereas actually that's not exactly what Christianity
Jesus would have been a lefty, wouldn't he?
Again, I think he might have been left on some issues, but not necessarily all issues. It's hard to... I mean, the concept of left and right politically comes out of pre-revolution France, and they didn't have arguments then about transgenderism and doctor strikes and things like that. And so there are lots of issues that we contend with now, which I think we can't necessarily define in a really easy left-right way. I mean, I find, for example, mentioning doctor strikes, and you were talking about this earlier briefly, I find it flipping odd how I have seen Jeremy Corbyn doing more to stick up for doctors who will earn far more in their lifetime than most people than I have seen him complain about the cuts to overseas aid, which mean that more people will starve to death. Now, you might disagree with foreign aid, but Jeremy Corbyn, as a lefty, surely he should be more concerned about that than about doctors who are going to get paid plenty in their lifetimes anyway. So I'm confused about how we now define left and right.
Yes.
A lot of people saying that those days are over. Left and right.
And of course, there's the old horseshoe theory about those who are hard left become hard right.
Yeah, they all meet in
So I've got this idea, I said it in the first hour of the show, that there is a very big difference between the Tories, who are more about economic and social right, against the Reform, who are socially right, but undefined on the left in terms of economics. We don't really know whether they are economically right in the same way. And if you look at the way that some of the Reform councils are running their lot after succeeding Labour, they're not making the welfare cuts that perhaps the Tories might.
Yeah, man. Anyway, thanks, Grace. We're going to take a little break.
Very good.
Luke, Paula, John, Sean, Chris, John, and Dave, and you 20344991000. We'll ring you back.
Dozy, Beaky, Mick, and Titch.
And if you've got any voice messages, you can send us on that number on WhatsApp, and we'll be back in just a couple of minutes.
Across the UK. On DAB+. On YouTube. On your mobile. And on your side. This.
Yeah, it's me and Jonny Gould, the Gould brothers, the Brothers Gould on Talk. 03444991000 to join us. We've got loads of calls. Who do you want, Paula or Kevin?
Let's go for Paula because it's green.
All right, Paula.
Oh, good evening, Ash.
Morning.
It's nice to see you in the main man's chair at last.
Well, I don't know if this is just to the right side because they put the names on.
Well, yeah, and what else have you got? I didn't even know you'd got a brother. Have you also got 22 kids and counting?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, man. I'll be doing the show with them next week.
What are their names?
There's
no sister.
Ophelia. No, we haven't got a sister.
No, there's no sister, there's no other brother.
You used to tell me we had an older brother.
I once had a dream that I was the middle sibling and that there was an older brother and his name was Daniel. And he was like basically a bigger version of me.
Yeah.
I look like Greggles, don't I?
Greg Scott, yeah.
Ash.
Yeah, Paula.
Can I? Sorry, I didn't mean to be rude to interrupt.
Sorry. The caller's number one.
Yeah.
Paula.
Sorry.
Numero uno.
You know the gold ring you've got on the other hand. Was that left from James?
No. It'll leave me anything.
He has.
No, not a sausage. I mean, I haven't checked the will. I've got to check it. I'm sure he did. Yeah, I'm sure there's something there for me. Yeah.
Didn't he leave you the show?
Yeah.
James said, I heard it clearly.
Yeah,
he said, I'm going to leave you the show.
Yeah, he did, yeah. Yeah, so he left me the show. That's good. No, but this ring, this was...
I've
had this for years. My parents.
Where's Tweedledum tonight?
He's in Morocco.
Andre's in Morocco?
Yeah, he's in... Can you imagine? With it, he'll be burning. He looks like there's a picture of him. He looks like the man from Del Monte. He's got a white Panama and a white thing, and he's going around, the markets, eating fruit, going, "Oh yes."
God!
Where in Morocco is he? Marrakesh?
I don't know. Is he on the Marrakesh Express? I don't know. Yeah, he's on the Marrakesh Express.
I went to Marrakesh in Morocco.
What's it like?
For the
How
first time.
will he fare
Well,
there?
if you want to go into the marketplace, Jamar El Afna is a place where you can buy any kind of Jude Bellingham shirt you want. It is full of football shirts. Yes.
Do you want that, Paula? Do you fancy some cheap football shirts?
They're not cheap.
Yeah, well...
Are they official?
No, they're fakes.
Oh.
Oh, I'm not interested in
They
that.
also have snake charmers.
She only wants the real
thing. And you can get a freshly juiced up orange or
Johnny,
lemon. Yes.
Is this your thing then, what you do, like you're doing tonight with Ash? Is this what you do?
Let's just say at my age you have a portfolio career. I do a few things. But yes, I've been a TV and radio presenter for as long as I can ever remember. And longer.
You remind me a bit of Timmy Mallet.
Thanks.
Timmy Mallet?
Paula, despite that, you're still on air.
Well, no, Timmy Mallet's Chris Evans' hero.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Oh, no, but...
I like Mallet. He was all right. I mean, I was never into Mallet and all that, but actually he's a great artist.
Yes, I watched the programme the other day.
He's a great artist now, Timmy Mallet. Painting, he's a great painter.
Is he?
Yeah. Mallet's Palette is his website. He's actually a great painter. Yeah. He's a brilliant painter. And once he was in here and he did some amazing doodles on the...
Very talented man.
Very talented man, not just, Colin Hunt.
And how are you regarding James, Ash?
Well, we're going to hear... Do you listen every Friday night? To I missed the guy and we had, a fantastic chemistry. Love doing the show with him. And, I often think, what would Whale think of all this? It's going on, And I was thinking the other day, Whale was talking about the migrant boats. We were talking about that years ago and it's still going on at thousands every week.
I know.
I think about all things like that and, stuff like that.
I do.
How he would react.
He still doesn't even seem real, really.
Yeah, I know.
He was so alive on TV.
Exactly, it happens a lot. And he went right up to the end, you know what I mean? He just had a very strong...
Total 100% respect for the guy.
Yeah, man.
And he sort of gave other people inspiration as well.
No,
if they was in that position.
You do. No, thanks, Paula. Thanks for that. No, it's lovely, thinking about him and how he would react.
It's nice to remember the great man.
It is. Like Kevin in Swansea, Brida.
Isn't it Borida? Whoops.
No, North Star.
What?
Go
yeah,
ahead,
sorry,
Kevin.
North Star. Yeah.
North Star, yeah. Good evening. Yeah. I'm not Welsh, but I've been down here a while.
Why? What happened that you had to move to Wales, Kevin? Tell us the terrible story of what happened.
Oh, well, it's a long story. You don't hear it.
Where did you come from? Up north? Was it somewhere not? Sounds like.
Yeah. Well, when I was a kid, I was just listening to you earlier on. You were talking about Birmingham.
Yeah, man. Aston, yeah.
Well, when I was a kid, I was in the children's home in Birmingham, like.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean, like.
And how was that? Was it all right? But what year? What, in the 70s or 80s or something?
No, 60s. Probably in the 50s, 60s.
Oh, the 50s, right.
I'm a bit older than you.
But that was when it was at its height, wasn't it? Birmingham was still a powerful city back then.
I remember Dad saying, Kevin and Ash, that the real estate prices of New Street were more expensive than Regent Street in the 50s and early 60s.
Yes, and
can you believe that?
Yeah, the Birmingham Stock Exchange. It was like a proper big
Yeah, but that
city.
was all the way to the early 90s, you know. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not that old that I remember the house prices or...
So what happened then? And then how did you end up in Swansea?
My daughter's down here, and it's a long story of
you just to be with your family and your grandkids.
Yeah. Just my daughter's down here, but the point is, what I was going to say.
Yeah.
You know, everybody's on about this migration now. I had a family member who was a Muslim.
Yeah.
And he converted to Christianity, and he said to me, Kev, when the Muslims take over, he didn't say if. He said, when the Muslims take over, I will be one of the first people they kill. Because anybody who converts from Muslim religion...
Yeah, apostasy. The sentence is death.
Christianity.
Yeah.
They're gone. They're
anyone who leaves Islam, that's for the Islamists. That's what they...
he passed away 2 years ago in Australia, but that's... Well, we don't
They can't get him.
Hey?
They can't get him then.
No, they can't get him now. No. Unfortunately.
But that's the thing, isn't it? And there are people. I remember there was a Henry Jackson Society said, they did a survey of young Muslims, and they think you'd get less religious and less radicalised, but actually the next generation often became more radicalised, and you see it actually in Northern Ireland, where the people who are, loyal to the British are actually more English and British in a way than the British people.
Well, we know someone from our experience, Mozam Beg, who we were both at school with, who was detained in Guantanamo Bay and got compensation of a sizable amount from the British government. I remember his parents, and his father was basically a Pakistani gentleman with like one of those waxed moustaches.
Yes, I remember.
He looked like a sort of colonial character who worked in
he was a very nice man,
bureau.
Very nice man.
And his son, and indeed Azam, his brother, became more extreme, more religious.
Yeah.
We've seen it.
But Mo said to me that when he changed his name because he converted to Christianity, that he said when they take over, and he said they're going to take over the West, the Muslims will take over, and he said they'll. Well, I don't want to say. Well, I don't know what I can say, but they're just going to turn on us in the end. And it looks like it now, don't it?
Well, some are openly saying it, but I mean, it is a small percentage, but nevertheless, it's a sizable amount. You look at the watch list, MI5, and there's more than that. So it is, it's scary, and something needs to be done. Anyway, thanks, Kevin. Let's go. Not stay in the West Midlands, but to another West Midlands man, Steve in Walsall.
Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening, Steve.
I've been on the programme quite a few times. I've missed it for a bit. I'm glad to be back on.
It's good to have you back, Steve.
Where in Walsall are you, mate?
I'm on the Allenwell.
Okay. Yeah, I know Walsall at the back of my hand.
Anyway, I'm 78 now, so
happy birthday.
Back a few years.
Yeah.
And over the previous years, I've met a gentleman. He was a pilot on a Lancaster bomber. Another one was a navigator on a Lancaster bomber. Two of my neighbours was at Dunkirk. Another man I know, he was at the Battle of Alamein in North Africa. And quite a few of the people who landed at Arnhem, well, nearly all of them, were a part of the Staffordshire Paratroop Regiment.
Really?
Well, everybody went through all that. the bleach and the suffering and everything else.
Yes.
Now, since the war ended, we've had nothing but a bunch of nutcases running this country right up to present day. And I never thought I'd live to see this country go down the pan as it's gone down. This man Starmer, he's a nutcase. He thinks he's the only one what's right, and everybody else is wrong.
Yes. Steve, what's happened to Walsall over the last 20 years? It's changed completely.
What's happened to Walsall? Well,
yes, mate.
I don't go into the town.
Makes me sad to hear that.
It's a disgrace.
Yeah. Even the people who were immigrants from 30 years ago are now complaining there's too many other immigrants, you know what I mean? So they don't recognise their town.
Don't get me wrong, I'm not a racist at all. I know Turkish lads, Indian lads, Egyptian lads, and they all say the same thing. The country can't carry on having immigration this.
I tell you what, Steve,
and everything else.
I tell you what, Steve,
carry on.
I remember the Guildhall being open in Walsall. I remember it in the mid-80s being a place of, recovery and of boom. I remember the Mossley and the Beechdale being privatised with council houses being sold to tenants and the whole area improved. I remember Allenwell as well and Mossley and all those areas in Walsall. I haven't been back for a number of years, but it really makes me sad because I remember the bridge with all the banks on it and the big retail going up the hill towards the cinema.
The market, remember how long the market
was a good going, and then the Guildhall Ride at the top. It was a big town centre.
Yeah. It was big, and the market was one of the best in the country.
So kind of. I mean, if you don't go into the town centre, I understand why. Someone else has just texted us and says, "I don't go into Whitley Bay either." What is it that stops you? Is it the gangs on the street? You feel worried, or is there just nothing there for you to go to?
It doesn't feel like home as well a lot of times.
I'm nearly 19 stone and 6'2".
Right.
I'm not fat. I'm big and fit.
Yes.
I mean, I went down Warsaw once, and this chap come up to me and he says, Have you got the price of a cup of tea? I said, get out of my sight. I said, because I'll give you more than the price of a cup of tea.
And the sadness is, well, it's not just about the Walsall town centre. There was a murder of a woman going back from a hotel in Bescott Station by the Walsall football ground as well, wasn't there? What a terrible thing to happen.
She had young kids, the guy, the illegal, asylum seeker stabbed her 21 times with a screwdriver and then did little dance. I remember hearing that. She worked at one of the hotels.
Sort of a Premier Inn sort of thing.
Horrendous, and there she's left 2 children, and this is happening all up and down the country.
Makes me really sad, Steve.
Government policy. This is all what you said Mad Starmer is doing to this country.
The thing is as well...
And people before him and all.
And before Boris was the one with the massive wave. Unbelievable what he did.
I mean, the power of stop and search. It ought to be a mandatory law for the police to be able to do it.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with it either.
Against this, they've got something to hide.
Yeah.
It's the same as ID cards. I'll have all the ID cards they want me to have because I've got nothing to hide. I'm a genuine citizen of this country.
Yeah, but it's what they'll add on to it in the end. They'll control your money. They'll say you can't have steak on next Tuesday. You can't fly to this. You can't drive there. It's like, it's the mark of the beast, Steve. They'll control everything. Anyway, thanks for calling us. Zero, you what?
If I've got time.
Yeah, go on.
I've worked all my life. When I first started work, I was 14. I finished working when I was 67. And the way I'm treated as regards state pension is an absolute disgrace.
Right.
Yeah, of course it is. What, did you get 11 grand a year or something?
Tax still.
Yeah.
And Starmer is giving money away like confetti.
Yeah.
We've got people coming from all over the world with children.
Yeah.
As soon as they get here, they start breeding like rabbits, and then they start claiming everything there is to claim in child benefits.
Well, yeah, no 2-cap limit. Anyway, thanks, Steve. 03444991000. It's the Brothers Gould, Jonny and Ash.
Makes me sad to hear about Walsall like that.
Well, it's horrendous when you see it, what's happened to it. We'll be back in a couple of minutes.
Across the UK. On DAB+. On YouTube. On your mobile. And on your side. This is Talk.
Yeah, it's the Gould brothers. It's Johnny and Ash here on Talk. We're taking your calls. Let's go to Luke in Bromley. Luke's an entrepreneur. Hi, Luke.
Good evening, gentlemen. Yes,
Evening,
I'm torn
Luke.
between two different subjects, but with the budget, I thought I'd see if we can cover both. We'll see.
Yeah, man.
First things first is I'm a big favour of helping people back into work. As you know, I've helped.
That's
many
what you've done,
others
yeah.
Back into work, yeah. And that obviously cost my business quite a bit, but I felt it was a way of helping.
You were helping women, basically, British women, into work, and you run basically after construction of buildings, you clean up operations.
Yes, that's right.
Big
Paying them
buildings.
more, offering them better, conditions around children, family life, and so on.
Yeah, man.
Cost the company, but so then I thought, well, why can't the government do it? And okay, they've offered this they've dropped the two-child benefits thing. So, and I kind of think, well, I'm on the right leaning, but do I support this? I kind of do, because I think it's only £75 a month more. It's not a huge amount more.
I thought it's £3.5 grand a year per child.
How much?
£3.5 grand per child.
Is it? It's
Well, that's 75 quid a week, isn't it?
Is it? Yeah, but you add that on to, like, you got 8 kids. What you're talking, you'll be earning like 80 grand wages to get that.
The other thing is,
with your house and everything.
1.4 children, doesn't it? So.
Yeah, but why should people who can't afford, middle-class couple who won't have kids because they can't afford them, be paid all their taxes so other people don't have to work and have as many as they want?
Yeah, that's one way of looking at it. But the other way is, why should a child that's born number 3 lose out? The way I think about it is perhaps they should give them child vouchers or something. It's food vouchers or.
Well, yeah, because like you say, it's just cash, isn't it? They can do what they want with it.
It's cash. They can do what they want and end up, getting Sky subscriptions. Like, I'd rather think that they get a subscription for like Asda or something, which helps them minus booze and stuff. That helps them get clothes, food, and the things they need to help them, not miss out in life.
But it's not tenable, is it?
Do you not think the welfare state should be pegged back a little bit and to stop people relying on it, and actually should be supporting people to go out to work to graft?
Yeah, it shouldn't be more than the average wage. That's what the rules used to be, but that seems to have gone out the window.
It should be a benefit. It should be a supporting net, not a fishing net, But so that's that side of things, and I think, well, maybe could they perhaps pay people more in their jobs and then give companies that can't afford to pay the extra, the government pay them direct, and the companies apply for that back rather than give it to the people directly, the extra amount. So you pay, say the minimum wage is say 15 or 16 quid. But if your company's not making so much money, then the government will actually pay you back rather than going for this.
Well, we do that, don't we? I mean, we subsidise a lot of major big companies basically for their low wages.
Energy, something like that. So the other topic is, what about this? They encourage all people to go electric cars. I could see this coming. Now they're going to charge electric cars. It starts at 3p a mile. It will increase in time.
Yeah, of course.
And I think what a laugh, because they've tried so hard to do. In fairness, they do use it. They weigh twice as much. They break grates and manholes and all that stuff.
They're much heavier, aren't they? And if you get hit by one, you come off worse because they're a much heavier car.
Boy. And they lose energy and stuff in the winter and things really fast. So if you break down an electric car, you're stumped. But I think it's a case of you've got to think about 3p a mile. They're saying that they want to sort of measure at the MOT every year. So you've got to issue your mileage, and then obviously you've got a big bill to pay on the MOT. And they've just said today that they're perhaps going to consider you pay in advance. So you have to submit what you think you're going to do, like 12,000 miles.
And then they work it out at the end.
Then they charge you. Well, no, they charge you at the beginning, and so when it costs over the year, so you pay ahead of yourself. So
They give you a credit at the end if you've got any ill.
If you have, yes. Imagine if you do 20,000 miles a year. You just say, well, I'm going to do 1,000, so you're underpaying. Or even you could just claim loopholes like you did it abroad. So what they can do, they can't charge you for foreign travel, or even if you did it on private land, you can't charge for that either. You could say even going on a national trust.
Do you drive? Have you got an electric car?
No, I've got a hybrid, non-plug-in. So
you're half in, half out?
Yeah, but mine charges as it goes, so it doesn't fall into this thing. It's petrol.
Yeah, but you've got to decide, are you petrol or electric, all this hybrid stuff?
Oh, I'm petrol. I'm not going to go electric.
That's a good idea. It's a good idea to do hybrid.
Yeah, but don't you think it's like you're sitting on the fence, you get splinters in your bottom? You got to pick one or t'other.
I just think it's a bit of a joke. And you know what's going to happen? People are going to rack up a big amount of bill of how many miles they've done, and they're going to sell the car at 11 months and they won't have any of the bill. So you end up...
Also, if you've got a plug in your drive, it's much cheaper than... I meet a lot of Ubers and they have to charge outside. It's like flipping expensive to charge on these.
They did a
outside.
test of driving an electric car up to Scotland and back to see which was cheaper, petrol, diesel, and so on. And the electric car ended up having to be charged back in Newcastle, so they ended up sleeping the night and had a hotel bill to add on to that, and there was more.
But what's a Newcastle hotel? It's about 30
Now,
quid.
The petrol went all the way.
A friend of mine generates his own electricity through his solar panels.
Oh yeah.
And he uses rainwater to use for his toilets.
And it's all
and
right
he
free,
literally has free car journeys because he generates his own electricity, and his water bill is significantly smaller because he uses rainwater to flush his toilets.
Well, I've heard about Tesla were using the old car batteries to power houses, and I've heard people who've got solar panels, and should we get him on as a guest, Elon Musk?
Tony.
Tony. It's an EV rate, isn't there? About 7p.
But you can just grow your own electricity at home from the roof, and then charge your own home without having to pay anyone. So why aren't we all doing this? But it's only a couple of grand.
Well, the answer is that solar panels only work geographically from Northampton downwards, so that there's something to do with the solar system. They were popular from the sort of the South Midlands down to the South Coast. You can't do this sort of stuff in Edinburgh, for example.
No, but it's all coal up there, isn't it? Anyway, and stuff like that. Anything else, Luke?
Well, I just think that they need to really think about how they're doing it, And I do agree we need to look after the poorest as well, but we need to also encourage people back into work and help entrepreneurs and business. They're not giving that spice of entrepreneurs.
Well, yeah, I mean, what's the budget? I mean, obviously this day, the workers' rights things changed everything, but the budget must have really annoyed you running a company.
I tell you what annoyed me, because it was a missed opportunity. I would say it's a damp squid missed opportunity. Missed opportunity to grow the economy. Forget about neutralising and trying to miss off all the negatives. Let's see some positive stuff. And I look to Reform for that, if I'm honest. Reform Party seem to have some answers coming forward. We need a few more years to get together, so get proper ideas together and a proper team. But I'd say,
Are you in Reform then now, Luke?
Well, I'm in Reform as far as I'm a member on the £25 a year, and I support all this do generally. It's all right. Language, I think.
Thanks for joining us, Luke. 03444 991 1000. Going to take all your calls right up to the end. It's me and Johnny. It's Talk. Back in a jiffy.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube. on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Look, it's Jonny Gould.
All right, man.
It's the Brothers Gould, and we're here for one night only, but we're going through all your calls, talking about all what's going on in the world. Have we got any tech? Has Luke from Bromley ever considered a sideline job in making wellness tapes to cure insomnia? I'd buy them, Rip Van Winkle. That's very hurtful.
Bit hurtful because he says some wise things.
He's a very
wise owl,
man.
Isn't he, Luke? He's a wise owl.
If he can stay awake, he's a very wise man. Anyway, let's go to John in West Lothian.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Morning.
If I'm allowed to say that these days without being...
You're absolutely allowed. It's a woke-free zone. Woke-free zone, man.
All right.
Not in Scotland, though.
Well, you know, with an independent country, allegedly.
Well, not quite.
No.
Didn't quite win that one.
No, and we don't bloody well want to either.
Oh, really? You would vote to stay in the union?
Yeah.
Absolutely. But I would like to talk about the budget. I mean, you had so many interesting subjects on. I could talk about all of them, but the budget.
Yeah.
Can I just talk about this thing with regard to the two-child?
The cap.
Yeah, absolutely ridiculous what they've done. I know so many people that are abusing the system now. Yeah. I know people that that are getting so many welfare benefits that they go to Disney Paris 4 times a year. And I've got another person that I know that will start popping them out like nobody's business, simply to get a bigger house, more furniture, and all the rest of it.
Yeah, I remember in the 90s, sort of late 80s and up to the mid-90s, it was very common for 15, 16, 17-year-old girls to have a kid to get a house, and that's sort of gone away now. Girls don't do that anymore, but that might come back now.
Well,
it's a money spinner.
Well, I can assure you they are still doing it.
Are they?
Yeah. It's terribly sad because the genuine people are being penalised because of it. Yeah. I'm a pensioner.
And they can't afford to have kids themselves. They're working their nuts off just to pay their taxes so they can go and have loads of kids who aren't working.
Exactly. I mean, I'm a pensioner, so that in itself doesn't affect me. But what does is that I'm still paying taxes. On my pensions for those sort of people that will not work. They don't want to work. They've never worked. Yeah. And I know families now that are in the third generation.
Yeah, the generations don't work.
And
you add it's millions of pounds, the benefits bills to those families over the generations.
And it's going to get huge. It's going to get enormous.
Well, eventually it'll break. I mean, we won't be able to do it, will we?
Well, yeah, but all this government, this Prime Minister, I mean, I'm sure he's from another planet. I'm sure he doesn't believe in this country at all.
Yeah, he's a bit strange.
He's more out of it than he's in it.
Yeah, he's like an automaton.
He is.
Yes, I don't believe that he is particularly for Britain. I think he's what you might call a universalist, someone who believes in stateless in a statelessness.
Well, he said Davos. He prefers Davos over Westminster.
Yeah,
literally said it.
Well, that's you just need to look at the way that he thinks that the Europeans should still control us. Our lawyers, our judges, are now falling into the same category. They have no respect for what the people of the country want.
No, they know better.
And as for Mr. Dare I say Mr. Lammy, because God knows where his brain is, if he has one.
He hasn't got one. He's a good talker. He's quite charming, but there's no substance.
No, but he's dangerous.
Yeah.
This is the whole problem about all of them. They are dangerous to the population of this country.
With their vacuousness is danger. Anyway, thanks, John. Let's talk to Janine in Belfast.
Hello, my darling.
All right.
Hi,
Janine.
Going, boys?
We're all right,
it's lovely, Ash, because I thought you were kind of a unique being, and now we're looking at two.
No, Janine, he is unique. I do assure you.
The Cray twins. You need to change your name to Cray twins. Anyway, the answer is not blown in the wind. It is literally in front of us, right? So this is my solution to the clue is in the frigging thing. So, military-aged men. Well, what I think should happen is they should be conscripted into our armed forces for 5 years. And if they pass everything and do whatever, then they can apply.
Janine, question for you. They would have to pledge their loyalty to the flag, and they come from countries we're at war from. We would never be able to integrate these people into our armed forces.
It would also be a danger, wouldn't it?
Of course.
Well, no. But I mean, they're not more dangerous doing absolutely nothing.
Yeah, but when we had people in Afghanistan, sometimes they just open fire. They will lie to get in and do terrorist.
Well, we've had that shocking incident while we've been on air tonight about the murder of a young Republican Guard, National Guard, I should say.
Oh, no, yes. I totally get it. But that should be a condition that they are conscripted into our...
What's going on in Belfast? Because I see terrible things up there.
Not a lot, darling, not a lot.
What's your high streets like? Is it losing its Irish, the flavour?
Oh, Irishness, yeah. Well, I mean, all we do really is just get drunk all the time on Guinness.
But that's not changed.
That's what we do.
So it's not really changed, you just...
No, we have a way of dealing with stuff like this.
What do you mean?
Actually do I actually pity people on the mainland.
Has it brought people together?
Why do you pity people on the mainland?
Because I'll tell you why. I think it's too late. I think with everybody over there, because we've been all caught up. Because I'm 60. I don't look it because I get my Botox and my fillers and all that stuff. So I look about 10, basically. Anyways, no, but to be serious, no, I grew up all through the Troubles, right?
Yeah.
And indeed there were Troubles. And everybody was so busy fighting each other that they didn't really, we didn't get people of different skin colours over here because they were all too scared.
But has it brought people together, like Catholics and Protestants? It seems to have brought people together with it unified.
Yes, it actually does. It has. Because I think we're all just looking at, the mainland, because Great Britain is the mainland, and then the United Kingdom is Great Britain and Northern Ireland. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So Great Britain is just...
But isn't it worse in Northern Ireland proportionately to the population? What's going on?
No, because we don't... No. Look,
it is in the south, though, isn't it? In the south, he's got it.
Oh, yes, in the south, there.
It's bad there.
But, you see, the trouble is, we've got this sort of DNA thing where if we don't like what we see, we take to the street.
Yeah.
And we do something about things.
Yeah,
whereas people on the mainland seem to have been asleep for the past 30, 40 years, and it's just like, what were you all doing? Could you not see what was happening here? Whereas over here, we have just got like a small trickle.
It did suddenly creep up on us, sort of after Boris Johnson. It was before. It was with Rishi Sunak, and he was going to stop the boats, and at least he was trying something with Rwanda. And now we've sort of lost all hope because this is what these lot aren't even trying to stop it.
Well, there's a story, isn't there, that the one in, one out is less effective than the Rwanda policy.
It's one in and 100. It's one out and 100 in.
And then the one out comes back again.
I'm just going to read this story to you, Janine, which is that... I'm just going to read this story because it came out of the Telegraph. It says the Rwanda was a better deterrent than the one in, one out. The Conservative scheme had bigger effect on migrant arrivals before it was scrapped by Labour, and that is what modelling has shown.
They were crossing to the south when the Rwanda plan because people were leaving the north because they were worried they were going to...
Yes, they were, correct. There was a rampage down to Dublin,
that's right.
And everybody down there, but they have started rioting on the streets. Now, I know that, the British press don't cover much what goes on here.
They don't cover what the protests here, they don't even cover.
No.
The mainstream.
They don't, because it's just like, I call him Herr Stammer, because that's what he's like. He's like some sort of dictator.
Comrade Stammer.
It's not like, and he seems to be more worried about how he looks on the world stage than the fact that his own country is going to the dogs.
Yeah, he does state visits to the UK.
Like, me and my husband, we're married 40 years. And I was married when I was 6, by the way. No, I'm joking.
16.
But, I mean, we used to go to London, you know, got a cheap flight, an EasyJet, whatever. And we went over to London, did the whole, you know, Harrods and the open-top bus and whatever.
Yeah.
And we would have went over numerous times a year. See, now, I wouldn't get near it. Absolutely would not.
It's the same with everyone. I mean, people, tourists are scared, you know, it's to come
No
here,
way.
and rightfully so.
Really?
Well, in the tourist
There's a
areas,
lot of
yeah.
hype in the media. I don't think we can. I think we can overstate.
Yeah, but if you walk into tourist areas, I mean, me and Adam in there were walking in Leicester Square, and the only time I've done it last year. And Adam, who works here, we walked in, some guy came up to us. I mean, nothing.
Yeah, but
happened
Leicester
here.
Square is different.
But that's where it's a tourist place.
There are parts of London where there are no problem. Leicester Square is a magnet for everybody.
Yeah, but I'm talking about where the tourists go. And, you know, people who go, oh, I live in a posh area of London, this shouldn't be happening. Well, they go to the posh areas because that's where you get people with the Rolexes and the good phones.
Exactly. I would.
I think violence is overstated. There's no doubt it exists, but you know, I mean,
well, robberies, nicking your phone, that's not overstated.
No, I think it is. I mean, I've not had my phone stolen.
I know lots of people that have.
Yes, of course, but I mean, it's not a daily occurrence for your community of people. It does happen every day, but that doesn't mean to say that you experience it every day.
Anyway, thanks, Janine.
I wouldn't take a chance. Listen, I love you too.
Yeah, man.
Prefer you and Johnny to Andre.
Oh, it's very hurtful. To
Yeah,
Andre.
poor Andre.
We'll pass it on to him.
Yeah,
Tell Andre that.
Andre, have a nice holiday, mate. Yeah, he says thanks.
Let's go to Christian Epsom, where they invented salt.
And the Derby.
And the computer printer. Hi, Chris.
Yeah, and me and James went to school. You remember?
That's right, because James is from Ewell Village, just down the road. You went to the ruffian school, didn't you, or was it the other way round?
No, they were. It was more like 5 years of containment rather than 5 years of education. But I love James. When he was doing his TV show just round the back of Stringfellows, we used to go to that little Italian restaurant. I went with him twice.
Oh, Giovanni's.
Giovanni, yeah.
Giovanni's.
He used to do the trick with the coffee cup.
I know, he did that. I mean,
What is the trick with the coffee cup?
Well, he goes, oh, do you want the special cappuccino? And I go, oh, yeah, all right. And then he comes up with the special cappuccino. And then he spills it, but it's like a solid, it's a trick. And they go, they all laugh, the Italian.
It's a tissue with chocolate spread on the top. And he comes over, and all of a sudden the cup comes towards
is that what it
I
was?
jumped out my bloody skin.
Yeah, I did, yeah. and the nice thing in that restaurant, you can look on the wall and there's a picture of James Wales. I eat at Giovanni's.
I eat here.
Lots of Hollywood stars like that.
There are. Well, it's right in the middle of Theatreland. It's in a lovely old 16th century what do they call them? A prostitute place.
Well, that was
a brothel, yeah. It's a
prostitute
16th century brothel, and it's got the original Jacobean ceilings in there.
Right, because you always got to look up when you're in one of those places.
Yeah, you should look up.
Now, listen, let me tell you a little bit about me. Fulham born and bred,
yes.
Right? 64 years old, worked all my life, ex-Special Forces, now at home caring for my mum who's very, very ill. And I listen to what's going on in this country, and it's frightening. We have the budget lies. We have uncontrolled immigration. Now, when my parents bought this house where I'm looking after my mum now, it was 1971, so 55 years ago.
Yes.
The whole street was white English, right? Now, next door, I've got Portuguese, Pedro and Angina, who are lovely. Across the road, I've got Ifti, who's Bangladeshi. Next door to him, I've got Tariq, who's Pakistani. Next door to them, I've got Nadine, who's Pakistani Muslim. Next door to them, I've got another English couple, been here 30 years. And next door to them, I've got Super Mario, we call him, because he looks like Super Mario. But he's actually an Iraqi that came here must be 12, 15 years ago. He was a nuclear scientist. He's now got a dry cleaning shop, and he works hard, and his two sons have grown up, educated here and been doctors. Now, because it's been gentle immigration, it works.
Right.
All those people I just talked to you about,
come to my house, come to a barbecue.
And it's not a ghetto of one nationality. It's all different people, so they all become British.
Yeah. Listen. Ash, it absolutely works. But what we're doing now does not work. Now, all these young fighting age males, this is the frightening thing. I don't know if you heard Alex's show.
Yeah, a bit of it,
when she spoke of it. She has a very good friend who's the head of the CIA in,
America.
no, not in America, in